All right, happy Tuesday, everybody. Hey, going up on a Tuesday. Gary and Matt on this 9th of December. How many times did you guys find yourself last night looking at your TV screen and going, what was that?
A lot. The entire time, actually. I watched the whole, for educational purposes and for this show, I watched the whole first half on the Monsters, Inc. broadcast.
You don't have to apologize. I think a lot of people did. I think it was great for NFL does a really good job because what we've done, Simpsons, we've done SpongeBob, SquarePants,
Toy Story
to get and we do the slime, the Nickelodeon, to introduce younger kids to the game of football. I think that is great, and I saw some reaction last night that a lot of young kids that knew it was on watched it. Maybe I don't know much about the NFL, but they watched it. It was you could do cocaine or you could watch that.
It was the best one out of all the ones that I've seen. So I've watched all of the other. I've watched the Toy Story ones. I watched the slime ones. I watched all of them. It was Dan Orlovsky was great. They were I love Monsters Inc. Yeah. Monsters Inc. was the VHS tape that I would watch before I went to bed. Yeah. It was the movie. It was the blue VHS tape. And so they were dropping all of the Easter eggs and lines. They brought up Harryhausen's, which is the restaurant they go to. It was fun. And then also too, it was the perfect game for that to happen with because it was stupid. Yeah. And it was just picks and everything like that. And then Michael Severe and I were having fun with Connor Happer on Twitter because Connor was like, I am not watching this. So we started tweeting him updates about what was happening. Why
was he not watching it?
I don't know. I thought it would be right up his alley to do it. Now, the one
sit down with his daughter and watch it. Well,
she's not
7, 15.
Yeah. I don't even know if she's old enough yet to really fully comprehend.
Yeah, but there was a lot of stuff going on the screen. I mean, you had the best two-way player that plays in the NFL, not named Travis Hunter last night.
Mike Sullivan.
Sully had a great night. His stat line is Hall of Fame-ish.
They gave him the Kamani Vidal 60-yard, pass, and then they gave him every sack. Every single sack they gave Sully. It was great. He also had the pick. He had the pick that turned into a fumble, that turned into another fumble. That play got botched. So they could not animate. They could not animate that play.
So I was not watching it then. I was actually watching the real thing when Jalen Hurts, by the way, -4 in fantasy football points. If you had Jalen Hurts on the play that we had 2 turnovers, we had an interception, 2 fumbles, and yakety sacks was all of a sudden played. You remember, that?
Yakety sacks?
Yakety sacks.
I don't know yakety sacks.
Very sad. But that was played as the music when that play was going on. That's what I'm talking about. There were so many times last night watching that game, which the Chargers won in overtime. The game was just drunk.
It was.
And maybe you had to be drunk or high to watch Monsters Inc. and go, this is great. I did find myself going, what was that in a game that had 8 turnovers? But I watched at the beginning. I liked it. It was because I looked at it through the lens of a little kid. I'm like, okay, there's enough going on. They're describing it. They're having fun. If I was a parent with kids, young kids, I would sit down and watch it.
When Mike Wazowski described the red zone, I was like, do you think they should play this at Nebraska football meetings? Hey, this is you get down here and the defense gets tight and you really got to punch it in. And it's the difference between 7 and 3. I'm like, I know, Mike. More people should know about this.
Oh, it was hilarious.
It was funny.
And so what was more hilarious, the Monsters Inc. or the actual game that was played at SoFi Stadium last night?
Probably thinking about all of my pro Jalen Hurts takes and then just watching him play a terrible game. I mean,
he's fallen off. He has fallen off when you can't run the football like they did last year with Saquon Barkley. Hurts gets exposed a little bit. 4 interceptions last night, and I mean it was a rough weekend for the 2 starting quarterbacks in last year's Super Bowl, Mahomes and now Jalen Hurts. But the fall off, I mean, Jalen Hurts was the Super Bowl MVP. The fall off this year, it's been pretty drastic.
He threw 1 interception through 11 games. He's now thrown 4 interceptions through 2 games. You're absolutely right. When they can't fully rely on a run game that is one of the best of all time, he doesn't have the same time in the pocket or just free runners across the field. I thought Pat Mahomes actually played a good game against the Houston Texans. It's just that, there was a lot of
drops, but he Again, he could have thrown the ball at the dirt
He could have.
and had a better pass.
Don't get me wrong. He could have been better, but he was let down in a lot of cases by his wide receivers. Jalen Hurts was not let down by anyone yesterday. Jalen Hurts just threw the ball to the other team and turned the ball over and over and over and over again. So
both
it was
quarterbacks, both quarterbacks were not very good. That was like it was kind of a game this time of the year where like both those teams are playoff worthy, and now the Eagles have lost 3 in a row. That it should have been better. But there's watching that game last night. One, Andrew Luck lives at SoFi Stadium. Justin Herbert is going to retire early, and you're gonna be like, wow, that guy makes some absurd plays, has some stats that are mind blowing, but the hits that he takes, he gets absolutely crushed. And it is set your watch to the end of the year that Herbert's going to have a late season injury that either is going to knock him out or he's going to have to play through. Now I'm thinking they played Kansas City on Sunday and it's going to be cold. You have a steel plate in your hand. Okay. He's going to play with that. But I don't know how long his NFL career lasts because he gets just absolutely crushed and he gets right back up and he goes out there and balls. But at some point he's not going to get back up. And watching him play last night, and then with the news that Grandpa might be playing in Indianapolis, and I would be here, I would be all for it to watch 44-year-old Phillip Rivers get away from his 23 children to come back to the NFL and also pause his Hall of Fame chances.
Yes.
Which, he's up for the Hall of Fame. He's a semifinalist. They would have to pause and they push it back another 5 years. But he's in Indy today. What is the NFL going to do when they go to 18 games? And eventually it'll go to 20. That the health of the quarterbacks in this league, is the backup quarterback going to become even more important when the NFL expands their schedule? Easily. Because quarterbacks that make it through the entire year, man, you deserve a monster bonus because guys are getting just beat up and they're going to play another game. Look at Indianapolis. Look at Herbert. Herbert sticks out there, and he wasn't effective last night because he gets the crap beat out of him.
Well, and then Jim Harbaugh's a psycho. Where he's running Herbert.
Stopped right there.
He's running Herbert at the very end of the game because he realized that Vic Van didn't scheme up anything for a potential Herbert run. Because who the hell would run their franchise quarterback who currently has a steel plate in their hand and is injured? Like who would run that guy? So Jalen Phillips wasn't honoring the zone poll at all during in the last. So they kept running him, but you're right. He kept getting hit.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's another thing too, Gary, of when you draft these 6'5" quarterbacks and they're massive and they're the biggest guys on the field, and you don't tell them, hey, it does not matter how big you are. It does not matter how strong you are. Protect yourself. They're going. It happened to Cam Newton. Like the exact same thing. He just didn't retire early. He just was bad. And we told him, hey, you can't play in the league anymore. The only guy that seems somewhat immune to it is Josh Allen. He seems like the only one that can take that punishment and be okay. But even this year, look at Lamar. We got to have a conversation about Lamar in terms of, is this just okay? He's just hurt this year and this is just one of those bad years, or he's been in the league for 8 seasons. Is the bill coming due for Lamar Jackson?
I think this year he's hurt. And he's trying to get them to the playoffs. Sure. So he's playing he didn't look right against Pittsburgh on Sunday.
I think I'm not saying the bill is coming due. I'm just throwing out that question to play into your point of you're right.
The quarterback, Tom Brady played. He was the same age as Phillip Rivers and threw 46 touchdown passes post age of 44. Tom Brady was a freak. Yeah. But these quarterbacks are just, as much as the NFL protects them, sometimes they don't protect themselves.
Exactly.
But I look at, Andrew Luck is now on the sidelines of the Stanford GM. Justin Herbert, who everybody keeps waiting on, and you see, wow, great plays, and then they don't do anything in the postseason because he's hurt. Watching him last night, he's not effective at all.
Yeah.
And it's, you're in the important month of the year. The other thing about watching that game last night, I don't, and maybe this is, I look at it from the lens of a Chiefs fan. How are the Philadelphia Eagles likable?
I don't think they are.
Their fans are obnoxious, and they've got a coach that doesn't look like he hasn't slept in 6 months. Okay? He doesn't. Nick Sirianni never looks like fresh.
They also have a coach that is very loud and very arrogant, and not a lot of people like to begin with because they don't think he's a good coach. Like that doesn't help Nick Sirianni either. The fact that just people think he's a fraud. But I don't think they're like that.
How many hours a night do you think Nick Sirianni sleeps?
Probably 4. I think it's 4.
He is not invested in the popular cream that takes away wrinkles.
Yeah.
That is very, very popular now. Like is geared towards all of his guys.
I would think though, they were Gary 2 weeks ago. They were what 8-2,
Yeah.
and they were down 7-3 in the first quarter. They were the defending Super Bowl champions, 8-2, down 7-3 in the first quarter, and he was getting booed. The team was getting booed.
Yeah.
How can that job not aid you like the president? Like how
but
can
yeah,
it
but
not
you take
cause
you know what you're getting into in Philadelphia. The Birds fans are loyal. They're obnoxious. Some of them are douchebags. But they love their football team, good or bad. But that's the Philadelphia sports fans. So you know what you're getting into.
Sure.
I mean, if you don't, then don't take the job.
Yeah.
Okay. He is a guy that always looks like he hasn't slept for days. And I mean, he can ride the douche canoe, and then there are times he can pull off things, and you go, wow. But they got some issues. I tell you what, I would ask Jason Kelce to come back. If Phillip Rivers can come back, Jason Kelce can come back, but you'd have to pause your clock for the Hall of Fame.
Also, Jason Kelce had his ankle was falling off of his leg in his final season of his career. I think
you don't think he'd come back and give him a game?
Oh, he definitely could.
I mean, JPP came back yesterday. He's 36. He hasn't played in a few years.
But
I'm waiting for Brady to replace Geno Smith next week.
Okay, but Brady could be a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. I'm still convinced of that.
Is he 47 now?
I'm still convinced he could come. He's just so smart that he can. And
he's
if
48,
if
48,
he could give you
top 15 quarterback if he came back. Now, would he just play a game?
Play a game. He could play a game like a top 15 quarterback. I don't think he could play a season because I think he'd get hurt. Like I think he'd get knocked out.
Yeah, he wasn't. He outside of the injury against the Chiefs that knocked him out for the season.
Yeah,
he has stayed relatively healthy.
I think you're spot on with the whole adding more games from a quarterback perspective, but adding more games just from a player perspective. Even when they were playing 16 games in the regular season, everybody was banged up at the end of the year, and it really there have been so many Super Bowls even before they added all these games that were really decided by who was more healthy, right? I mean, I hate to open,
but the health of your team is predicated on the health of your highly paid quarterback.
Yes. But I hate to open up old wounds, but the 2020 Super Bowl, the COVID Super Bowl, that was strictly determined on the fact that Tampa Bay just was more healthy than Kansas City, and that was before we were getting to the point where we're trending toward having 18, 19 games in the season.
Yeah, and there's the other thing that is always reminded when you see a Charger home game is that they should have never left San Diego.
Yeah.
They play in a stadium that they share with the Rams, who are immensely more popular in the city of Los Angeles and covered more because the Chargers are an outsider that began about 10 years ago their move north on Interstate 5 to play at Carson, California, in a soccer stadium. But every time they play in that stadium, it is a road game. I don't know how, and players are attracted. Hey, it's Los Angeles.
Sure.
The Chargers, I guess the facilities are really, really cool. But it is a road game. Every time they play at home, it's a road game. I'm looking at the game-winning interception last night in overtime, and they wanted to celebrate, and they showed them running down the sidelines.
Yeah.
Everybody in those suites, those field suites, which I still think are horrible seats, we're all Eagles fans. So they should have never left San Diego. It is such a shame that happened, and they play road games. They play essentially 17 road games every year as the Los Angeles Chargers.
They got to the back corner of the field, and they did the shot of them and it was a sick celebration by the team. It was like a bunch of guys that's what
I'm talking about. And it was all Eagles fans.
They literally, all of them. It was all green. Have you ever seen the video of the San Diego Save Our Team? They did a music video of the back when they were going to move the Chargers to LA.
It's sad. It's sad.
And we laughed in those guys.
I went to a Chargers game at Jack Murphy.
We laughed in those guys' face when they were Save Our Team San Diego, because it was a cringy video. And now we look back and we're they probably shouldn't have left. But this is, it has never, in football, we are now in the era And I know this happened a little bit earlier than all the things that are happening on now, but we are in the era of like, we only care about dollar signs. We only care about money. We only care about
You're right.
how we're going to make more revenue.
Yeah,
and,
you're right. The
and-
Chargers moving to Los Angeles and the Raiders moving to Las Vegas. I mean, you watch a Raiders game because everybody wants to go to Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't know why Nebraska fans want to go to Vegas at the end of this month. But it is a road game.
It is.
There are more visiting fans because it's a destination. You can go there and make it a vacation.
Yeah.
Last night it felt like it was a Birds home game.
But it's just because it's like they thought that they can make more money in Los Angeles as opposed to making it in San Diego, and they did not give a damn about history or tradition or fans or anything like that.
All right,
It's
welcome in
crap.
everybody. Coming up on the show, the lineup brought to you by the referees of John Higgins Weather God. Sam McEwen will join us coming up from the World Herald at about 7:30. Brian Christopherson and Andy Kendi. People over at KTV are hoping and praying for a result Friday.
A result Friday.
So Nebraska and Kansas played 8:30. ABC is going to carry one volleyball match on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Yes. They
So-
have not determined who it's going to be, but if it is Nebraska and let's say Louisville, I would think that would be on ABC. ABC already in a couple of weeks has the national championship match on that Sunday
Mhm.
to be on KTV, which could feature Nebraska again, like it did a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
And they sent the whole crew down to Tampa. I would think that Andy and the crew over at KTV is rooting for Nebraska to beat Kansas and possibly ABC to pick that up on Sunday.
Are you potentially going to Kansas City?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm gonna go to I can't go to the final because I'll be out of town.
Okay.
But I'm going to go to the semifinals. Yeah, John Baylor and I are housing together.
Really?
Yes.
Are you going to be on color for him? You with him?
No.
Are you
No,
gonna be,
he has.
You going
he
to be the
has
sideline
one.
reporter for Husker volleyball?
No, I don't think you could have I don't know what a sideline reporter on the radio for volleyball would do.
You could figure it out.
Unless you're hanging out in the huddle.
Well, you could be Austin Rivers. You could just go ahead and you could be like on the sideline outside of the Husker volleyball team and talk about TikToks with the players. I love your TikToks. They probably come up
Yeah.
to you and start talking to you about it while they're kicking somebody's ass about to win a national
I don't
championship.
think the Nebraska volleyball fan that listens to JB on the radio, they want any shenanigans. Okay. They are very they're dialed in, they're very loyal. None of this outside noise stuff. All right.
They wouldn't like a little bit of Sharpie on their Sharpie
Now, if
shenanigans
it's
on the radio.
JB and myself, doing it, but he's got JB and Lauren make a nice combination. So yes, going to go to the semifinal in Kansas City. It's on Thursday night.
Sharpie shenanigans would actually be a great TikTok account for you to make.
Trust me, bud. When I was living in Lincoln, it wasn't. I didn't need a TikTok. It was just real life. All right, that's the lineup brought to you by the referees at John Higgins Weather Guard. Matt Rule speaks today.
Yes, he does.
So I would think that before he speaks this morning, they will make it official on a defensive coordinator and offensive line coach hire so that he can talk about both of those new additions and maybe some other things. He had a subtraction yesterday out of the running back room. Not a surprise. You can't miss something you never had. Weird little brief year career of Jamarian Parker, but he has entered the portal. So 2 guys off of last year's recruiting class are in the portal. But Matt Rule speaks today, now that they know the bowl opponent, now that he has made a couple of hires, could be making some more moves. We'll know shortly. But Rule will speak today. And the reaction, though, this is what we do as either media or fans or however you look at Nebraska's football program. What if I told you his new defensive coordinator, and we'll get into this with Sam when he joins us, because Sam has turned me on to watching the Cal San Diego State game from last year, which is very enlightening on possibly what you're going to see next fall on defense. But there's a lot of your opinion on Rule shapes your opinion on Rob Orich.
Oh, sure.
Because you've been burned before by hires that don't have lengthy experience. So you immediately go, well, this guy. Well, let's do this. Because I think this is fair to do. And no one knows. I mean, I don't think it's going to generate, off-season Kool-Aid. Sure. They got to play a football game or two. And it really, you won't have a determination on where the defense is going until they play teams with pulses. And that won't be until the start of the Big Ten season. But if you just took out Rule's connection because he hires this guy, and you just take out that he's just getting kind of started in his football career, but is starting to rack up benchmarks on his resume.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to look at this hire, because the reaction has been the reaction has a lot of, I don't like Rule to it, in
Sure.
my opinion.
Sure.
Because of not Rule personally, but okay, past hires.
Mhm.
Okay, where's the experience?
Yeah.
He's not a friend. There's no like direct connection. So I just caution people, sit down, look at tape, listen to people that are much smarter than anybody that's on this radio station that knows football,
Yeah.
and then make your own determination, and don't go, well, he's only been at San Diego State for a year.
Mhm.
That's all I ask, and then
Yeah.
we can have a discussion. But there's the one thing that stands out, like we were saying yesterday,
Yeah.
is the energy. But his defense at San Diego State played with a lot of violence. They did a lot of gang tackling.
Mhm.
So he's a good communicator. And we're about to find out like how bad or how not should have been in that role John Butler was. I think when a new
Sure.
guy steps in that knows how to play to players' strengths.
Mhm.
I don't think Butler played to Nebraska's strengths with their current setup. This might be different, where a guy comes in and says, hey, one time we'll play a 3-man, we'll play a 4-man, but we're going to play to our strengths, and we're going to then help our strengths with our weaknesses. And that might be the biggest thing that the new DC is bringing. So I just caution people, because the reaction yesterday was pretty Rule-esque.
Yeah.
Of, oh boy, here
Well,
we go again, without giving the guy a chance.
It's interesting you bring that up with John Butler and viewing it that way, because I agree with you. Just watching the games, there were times where it's like, why are certain guys lined up in a certain way? Like it's clear that when they're lined up a different way, they're playing better. But like that's coaching. Like coaching is just essentially understanding your personnel and putting your guys in the best position they can possibly be in order to succeed. And they, Nebraska football had preached that for the first 2 seasons in terms of, and like Tony White preached that all the time. And it's like, you feel like they lost that a little bit. It's interesting you bring up some of you're right. If you're out on Rule, you don't really care like a lot about some of the decisions.
You're out on Rule, you're out on this defensive
exactly.
coordinator edition, offensive line coach, and basically the bowl game, and then we'll see you in the offseason.
Well, then on top of that too, though, you bring up like, oh, he's an outside hire. If anything, that kind of actually makes me more optimistic about it being an outside hire, because if you look at Rule's history, he has hit more on guys that he didn't have a connection with, that he kind of solely based off of. Like Tony White, didn't know him at all, just went ahead. If you looked at kind of similar to Orich, right? You kind of just look at the statistics and you're like, oh, here's a guy who took a defense that was bad and made him better. Oh, here's Eckler. Here's a guy who's like done really well at Tennessee. Let me just go and hire him. It's actually been some of the hires that he's made that he's had previous connections with that have fallen short. So I like that he's an outside hire, but I just think that what it boils down to, Gary, is that when you lose your last 2 games in the manner in which you lose them, none of this crap, I don't want to say none of the crap matters, but none of these things that could have been looked at as a bigger deal are viewed in that light because of the results of the last 2 games. And there's nothing you can do about that until next season. And that's the punishment.
Riley Van Poppel said, we didn't play with energy. They just hired a defensive coordinator whose defense played with energy and violence for 12 games. Yep. John Butler probably will not have a good 26 when you look back on it.
No.
They hired the opposite of John Butler. All right. You have the lineup for the show. You're always welcome to join the conversation in a state where if I would have told you a year ago, hey, the men and women are ranked in the basketball polls, you would have said, oh, Creighton's having another great year. Mack and Flan. Nope. Nebraska women and Nebraska men ranked yesterday. And for Nebraska men, that's great. First time in 7 years. Now we move on. Okay. It was good for about a minute. I wanted to see it. It happened. Now we're on to bigger and better things. 2 monster games this week.
You were really excited about the AP.
I just wanted to see it. And now you don't dwell on it. You're like, okay, they got ranked. Now move on. Because life comes at you pretty quick. Because if you go 0-2 this week, people are like, oh, you finally played teams that are good, that are inside of the top 50 in the Ken Palm, which will be the first time this year. And you went 0-2. All right. Life comes at you quick.
Sure.
That's what happens when you play in the Big Ten. So nice that you're ranked. You get recognized.
Yeah,
but
you're right.
That's good. That's good for a minute or two to go, oh, that's cool. First time in 7 years. Hey, when they play in Champaign, there's going to be a ranked matchup for the first time in 6 years. But you have 2 big games this week, and you got to move on because the opinion is flowing.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, because you
Well-
now play two teams again. That first time this year, you played two teams that are in the top 50 of the KenPom.
I don't know the answer to this question, and maybe I should go back and it would take me forever to find it, but I would love to know like the last time that a men's sport, so a baseball, basketball, or football
Mhm.
have been ranked in the AP poll for longer than 3 weeks. Like when was the last time there was more than 3 weeks of them? Because we've had like, football was ranked last year, football was ranked this year. They go and they have a number for a week and then they lose
Yeah.
the number. Like that sucks. I'm just gonna be honest with you. That really, because it's happened to me so many times in my life where it's like, all right, finally we got the respect. We're ranked. We're gonna do it. People know we're on the
Yeah.
map. Like it happened with Northwestern 3 times.
Yeah.
Then they go ahead and they lose. And you're like, oh, all right, we're back to like nobody caring about us and just like not having that prestige.
Now you got a school in Lincoln that's got an unbeaten women's basketball team, men's basketball team, and volleyball team. Look up that stat.
That's crazy.
We're off and running. Gary and Matt on a Tuesday morning with all of you. Lots to discuss. A lot of football stuff. Again, Matt Rule speaks today. Notre Dame spoke a lot. And we'll talk about the latest subtraction to the roster. So in your man cave, take out Parker. You have a spot open for a running back. Will you take another running back out?
Ooh, I hope not.
Oh, I hope so.
I
think there's an obvious one. We'll get into it. We roll till 10 on 1620 The Zone. All right, we have a first in the college football playoff, not the two group of 5 teams. To be the first time in the playoff that we have 2 Adidas teams facing off against each other.
Oh, that's a hell of a stat.
Texas A&M and Miami, so there is hope for Nebraska.
that the Adidas teams can end up being successful.
What do we have? Under Armour against Indiana last year.
Yes.
And then we had Under Armour against Ohio State's Nike, right?
Yes, they are Nike.
So we have 2 Adidas schools that are meeting. There is hope. There is hope out there for Adidas schools because there's been a stretch of where it's just been either team, what is it? Team and was it basketball? The teams worn blue and been a Nike school.
Yeah. What was last year? So last year's Penn State was Nike. I guess now they're Adidas, but last year they were Nike when they were in the national.
So Under Armour against Nike was last year.
I like Under Armour a lot. I wouldn't mind if Nebraska.
Steph Curry does not.
Well, yeah, that's a whole mess. But I mean, Under Armour actually, if you go, I read a great article about like all of their marketing failures and the fact that they just invested. Like at one point, they had the MVP and a major winner in golf. They had Cam Newton, Bryce Harper, Steph Curry, and Jordan Spieth.
Yep.
And they were on top of the brand world. And then they started investing in colleges and investing in teams, and they just invested in the wrong colleges and invested in the wrong things. And then now they've had to offload a lot of these guys that they had before because they've lost a ton of money. But they make a great quarter zip. Yeah. And so I really don't care that they can't manage a target. I wouldn't mind if Nebraska became an Under Armour school because their sweatpants are awesome. Like they're great. They fit. It's like their sweatpants that I went to the Nebraska Crossing and I bought a couple pairs of them. It's like clouds on your thighs, man. It's awesome.
It could be New Balance. New Balance has Boston College.
New Balance would actually. You don't think that if Nebraska made like Air Monarch, New Balance, like lawn mowing shoes, but they were in Husker red, they were in scarlet and cream, that those wouldn't sell off the shelf. They'd be like the #1 lawn mowing shoe in the country if Nebraska were to be a New Balance school. New Balance also they don't make a comfy quarter zip, but they make a pretty tighter quarter zip that's good for working out.
Nebraska's deal with Adidas expires in the summer of 28.
Should be interesting. Because like Adidas has now signed Tennessee and Penn State, and those have been pretty big deals. And I feel like Nebraska is going to want something pretty similar to that, and they're not going to want to get gypped.
Keep having stars like Dylan Raiola and Harper Murray being Adidas reps.
Oh yeah, good point.
All right, here is Random Mike on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. Good morning, Mike.
Hey Gary, this is really cool. You staying with Baylor at the semifinals? 2 of my favorite guys. Tell me this though.
JB thinks
I was watching his coach. Pardon me?
Oh no, go ahead. He's like he goes, yeah, sure. No, it's a long story. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was watching his coach's show on YouTube with Danny, and what's the deal with the red face?
What?
You didn't see it?
The red what? You said red paint?
The red face. His face was just super red.
Oh, it's cold outside. I don't know, Mike. I mean, it's my face is always red.
I don't think there's anything physically wrong. It maybe just she was cold. I'll ask.
Yeah. Hey, John, what's up with the red face?
No, seriously. Did you see it?
No, I did not.
Yeah, it was like he'd been burned or maybe taken some medication or something. But listen, you are 2 of my favorites. Is he the one doing that? I am a corn farmer.
Yes. Yes.
Is he a corn farmer?
John Baylor? No, Mike. He is about as far from being a corn farmer as can be.
That's what I thought. So
yeah.
So they should. If this was a TV commercial, there'd be a flashing thing saying, "This is a professional actor. This is not what he's saying he is," because he's obviously lying. He's not a corn farmer.
No, he's just doing the commercial. Yeah.
But
I think he is familiar. Job. I think he is familiar with corn farming, and he teaches in communities that have lots of corn farmers.
But he does a great job with it. I think it's a really neat act.
Yep.
Scott Shanley, have you been in touch with him lately?
No. I don't have anything wrong with Scott Shanley. It was his decision, Mike, about 2.5 years ago to stop coming on the show.
Yeah, because he was one of my favorite guests that you had.
Well, he wasn't everybody's favorite guest, but now after 3 years of Matt Rule, he seems to be very popular again.
That's my point, because I don't think he was happy saying what he did. He was just telling the truth. This is what he was doing from his NFL people.
No, and here we had no problem because it was. I mean, we had him on for a long time, and it was just his choice not to come back on the show. I think he got some blowback on things that he said, but if it was his opinion, I never agreed or disagreed with him. I let him have a forum. We had a good open discussion. But there are some things that he said back then that are kind of coming to fruition. But we haven't talked to him. We haven't talked to him in a while.
Yeah, it seems like everything he said is coming. The Raiolas. Do you think Dylan's coming back?
I don't know. Do you immediately think that because they fired his uncle that Dylan is gone?
I think most people do.
Okay, then that should be the reason why. Then I mean, if that's even a conversation, then let's move on. Because if you're here to win championships and to compete, don't you want to be in a program that does the best? And sometimes, hey, you're about to go into a bigger business in the NFL. People make decisions that are going to hurt your feelings, all right? Nebraska, at the end of the day, Nebraska needs to make a decision. Matt Rule needs to make a decision that's best for Nebraska, not best for a family, not best for the future of that family's relationship with the program. Needs to make a decision on what's best for Nebraska. And if it's best for Nebraska to retain Dylan and financially be able to keep two quarterbacks, because you look at next year, then you have to do it. But you have to do what's best for Nebraska, and they'll move on. If you are committed and you're dialed in and you're here to do what you said you were going to do, stop playing the leverage game and let's say, hey, I'm rolling. We'll be back next year when I'm healthy, and let's ride.
Yeah, but here's my point. And I said this earlier. Imagine the conversations while we're leading the country and quarterback getting sacked, or Dylan's dad, how's he feeling about his brother protecting his son? I mean, seriously, what do you think Dylan's dad felt about this?
Probably not great. Probably like, dude, what the hell? Probably like we want Dylan to get to the NFL. We want Dylan to reach his full potential. We need to build the brand by Dylan playing good football. And we're out here in the offensive line that you're coaching, that you have been tasked to develop over the last 4 years, is failing my son and your nephew. Probably isn't feeling bad. I'm just speculating.
Yeah, every conversation can't be, how does Dylan feel?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay,
really
how does Nebraska feel as a program? Okay, what's best for Nebraska? It's 105 playing for Nebraska. Everything can't be, well, I wonder how Dylan's feeling. You know what? I hope Dylan is like, man, my guy is doing everything every single day to make us a better football program, and I want to be part of it. And if you don't want to be part of it, it's fine, okay? You have the opportunity as a student athlete to go somewhere else, and you know what? Nebraska football will wake up the next day, and they'll go right back to work. But it can't be everything. Every decision can't be, well, I wonder how Dylan's feeling. You know what? I hope he's feeling, hey, okay, we need to be better. We need to be better there.
Yeah.
So, hey, it's a business. Life throws you curves, man. I love my unk, but,
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's very possible that Dylan's dad feels like, hey, brother, I love you, but you're not protecting my son.
But he's not the one who's got to make that decision, Mike. The guy that's got to make that decision is Matt Rule. It really shouldn't matter what Dom thinks.
Well, listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying it's very possible that Matt Rule has had conversations with Dylan's dad, and Dylan's dad saying, I understand if you get another line coach, it's better to protect my son. And that Dylan stays. Wouldn't you agree? That's very possible.
It is possible, but I don't know. I just think there's a lot of oxygen that is being sucked out by a last name. Okay, that last name happens to be the quarterback, but happens to be the quarterback on a football team that's got 104 plus other guys, and everybody needs to be going in the right direction. Nobody is bigger than the football program.
Yeah, but and one thing about Rule, and I think I tend to agree with you when you say Shanley people are feeling a lot better about Shanley now, because what he's saying is turning out to be true. That one good thing about Rule is he does talk to people, I mean, he's not just a talker; he's a listener, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if there have been some really frank conversations with him and the Raiolas, and that Daddy Raiola agrees with him that maybe it's best if his brother goes somewhere else to protect his son.
One brother throwing the other brother under the bus. Hey, good call. I could have told you that a couple years ago. All right, Mike, thanks for the phone call.
I mean, look, I understand that like people, listen to some of the words that Matt Rule says and they don't buy him anymore. But something that I've always thought, and maybe you can disagree with me, but I've always thought Matt Rule has been pretty consistent in some of the messaging that he's put out there about his team and like how he handles his program and stuff. I'll tell you something he hasn't been consistent on. When he went ahead and he said, he was talking about in-state recruiting, right? He goes, I serve one master. I serve one master, and that is the University of Nebraska, and that is beating Ohio State, and that is doing all of the best things that only serve that, beating the best teams. And when we get into these conversations and situations of him having to cater to things that aren't that, it makes me be like, dude, you're not consistent. Like, and if you don't like anything, you don't like things that aren't consistent. You don't like people that aren't consistent. And so if you're going to say, hey, I'm not in-state recruiting, right, because we serve one master beating Ohio State, and maybe not all these kids do that for us, but I'm going to go ahead and cater to a specific player and do certain things that, may not be best for the team, but are best for him. And I'm not saying that he's fully gone out there and done that, but if that is the thought process that's going on, that's not good. That's terrible. That's bad. That's inconsistency. That's not a sign of a healthy program. And so and you're right too. And the fact that like it just, this is what it boils down to as well, Gary, is that Matt Rule like acted like he never had gotten, and Nebraska had never gotten a 5-star before. And I feel like they catered way too much at the beginning to Dylan and to what he wanted and to what was, they created this relationship where it's like, wherever you want, whatever you want, we got you. You're the best. You're the star. It's not your fault. This and that, whatever. And then as soon as, crap starts to hit
but
the fan.
that's not uncommon. That's not uncommon. The programs that do it inside of a winning culture. So
Sure.
The culture is winning. Doing that when you've never had that inside of a program that doesn't have a winning culture with a good who thinks he's great head coach, but he's not great, then you get off kilter and you get a lot of mixed messaging.
And that's exactly what's happened. And you get mixed messaging, and then you also just get just bad looks and embarrassments and just like, and then now you can't double back on, you can't fall back on like, now we're going to be hard on him. Now we're going to coach him. Now we're going to get on the podium and be like, oh, you got to play better and you got to be better. I mean, at this point, it's too late at that point to do that. You've already catered so much and done and set the other message so much to the point where you can't just double back and be like, oh, now we're going to coach you hard because we need to do that.
I mean, it's just, you can't have one person suck all the energy off of you. Okay. I mean, yeah. And I think Rule stands his ground because he's the head football coach at Nebraska at the end of the day. I mean, people come and go, and it's his ass that's on the line. He has to make the decisions, and I don't think he's a whipping boy. I think he's probably learned through this process to have a stronger shell and stand up to people, and that's okay. That's exactly what you want in a football coach. I don't care if it's your quarterback or somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you're at the end of the day, your job is to win football games at the University of Nebraska. And whatever allows you to win football games, you have to do. And you have to be comfortable doing that. And if you have to make some decisions that tick some people off and ruin relationships, but it's going to help you win football games, or at least allow you to be able to do your job and not suck the energy out of the program, I think that's perfectly fine. And you have to live with that. But you have to be comfortable doing that, because the thing I've learned, and as kids have become smarter, we sometimes go, well, I don't know about 18 to 23-year-olds. They're kind of just learning. They're kind of dumb. No, kids are smart. Okay. Kids are smart.
Yeah.
All right. They can read a room. They can read body language.
You're right.
Okay. And you used to be able to pull the wool over eyes of kids like that. Nowadays, they can see right through you.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
And they can see. And if your team is a whole, okay, if you're catering to one person and you have different standards, people see right through that.
Sure.
Okay. And so what are they going to think? So you have to make strong decisions. I mean, this is kind of a point after a year like this, the way it ended it's kind of like the crossroads of Matt Rule growing as as a person inside of a football coach, okay, that has to make harsh decisions to move the program forward. Now, we've kind of seen he's not afraid to do that, but is he willing to go all the way there to get to the intended result? And is that to be better on the football field? And in that chair, you got to deal with some things. But I don't think he's like bowed down to the Raiolas. I think he's probably learned as this has gone on. No.
Sure.
No person, no family is bigger than program. I don't care if your name is up on the side of the stadium where your son is playing quarterback.
Yeah. Well, Nebraska wants to be a top program, and Matt Rule wants to be a head coach of a top program. And do you know what some top programs do with great prospects? They go, hey, you know what? It ain't going to work out. See ya. We're confident enough that we're good enough where we'll go out, we'll get another blue chip prospect.
Okay. Do you need to go to the family and go, hey, I'm going to fire your brother?
No.
You're the football coach at Nebraska.
No.
You made the move, okay? And if somebody looks at that, whether the Latifs, the Raiolas, hell, even the Davilas, and they say, yeah, coach, we got you. Okay? You're good. But if someone goes, oh man, you did unk dirty. You know what? I did what's best for Nebraska. Are you doing what's best for Nebraska?
Period.
All right. Sam McEwen will join us in the next hour on 1620 The Zone. All right, hour number 2, Gary and Matt. There's Matt, Jimmy here as well. If you want to, I know you're not a big futures guy.
Actually, I
Well,
placed
Indiana.
I placed a future yesterday.
On
Seattle to win the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Plus 800. I put $15 on it. That'll pay me 135. So I took the 145 I won from the Indiana future.
Yeah.
I rolled 15 over into a Seattle future. So I wanted to get, I told you I wanted to bet it at plus 1200, but I'm like you. I don't like to lock my money up like that, So I got it at plus 800. But yeah. So what's another future though?
So the basketball poll comes out yesterday. So the AP poll,
yes,
week number 6, historically, if you're in the top 12, you're going to win the national championship.
Since 2004, correct? Every
1 year in there wasn't, but historically, yeah.
I think it was the one UConn year? It was
I believe so.
Yeah, they didn't win it. No, you're totally right. I'm killing it in that one pool that I have Purdue in, and then I'm sorry, but St. Thomas ended up actually being a really good pick for that pool as well, and then Utah State's having a good year. I wonder if you bet all 12 teams in the top 12, you put $10 on all of them, like would you make a profit? Like would you for sure make a profit? Because I would have to.
This year
do
is
that
so
math.
top heavy in college basketball. I don't know what
heavy.
I haven't looked at the odds at all.
I can look at the odds. Don't ask me twice to look at the odds, Gary Sharp.
Hey, also don't look at the crowd in Manhattan, Kansas. So Kansas State played last night. Kansas State and Creighton played a pretty important game at 2:00 in downtown Omaha on Saturday. There is no enthusiasm for Kansas State basketball. Now, they were playing a team that you have to scroll way to the bottom of KenPom to find Mississippi Valley State. There was nobody at the Octagon last night.
Mississippi Valley State?
Yeah.
Or Valley States?
Mississippi Valley State. No. Do not disparage them. They produce one of the greatest NFL players of all time.
Reggie White?
Jerry Rice.
Okay. Oh, really? Okay. I should know that. I should know that Jerry Rice came.
But there was hardly anybody there. And I'm thinking, maybe they got some bad weather in Manhattan. That is not the case. So the Tankster will be in Omaha on Saturday with 2 very expensive rosters playing in that game. PJ Haggerty, though, is a baller.
He is good.
He's kind of found a refresh in Manhattan. But I was stumbled upon it last night when I was flipping through, and there was nobody there.
Was it similar to, like, remember when you and I watched Iowa State, Iowa, and there was nobody? It was in Iowa City, and they were playing, like, it was in Iowa City, and there was nobody at the Iowa game. Like, there were no Iowa fans at the Iowa State game, and you and I immediately go, "Oh, Fran might be in trouble here," because it's just like, first off, you have the Cyclones in your own building, and you got 0 Hawkeye. Like, it turned into a home game for Iowa State, essentially. Was it similar to that, you think?
Well,
because it's not a rivalry.
There wasn't a lot of Mississippi Valley State fans that are traveling.
They weren't taking
the middle
over
of Kansas. No, usually they have a great student section. There was hardly anybody there last night. But I think so. Going back to Sunday at PBA, remember that day?
I do.
If you haven't, go to all the media channels of Nebraska basketball. The media teams are cooking in this state, whether it be at Omaha, Creighton, or Nebraska.
Shout out our guy.
They're trolling. They got some great content.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to everybody that's behind the scenes on the media team, social media teams at all 3 Division I programs.
They're big listeners to the show, so they definitely appreciate the shout out.
And I appreciate the Bear K tweet that was directed towards me yesterday.
It was
was
partially directed towards you. Because the guy
my guy is going to be lighting it up in Europe in about 3 years.
Oh, well, the guy who helps make all that stuff is a P1er of the show and understands that the Bear Cave bit is not a bit. And so they felt like it was very in need to drop the graphic for you.
So on Sunday was one of the first times I can remember in Lincoln where there were very few Creighton fans. So the last couple of times the games have been played at PBA, there have been a lot of deep pockets of blue, like a lot of deep pockets of blue. There were this might be the smallest since Nebraska moved into PBA of Creighton fans that made the trip down. And I judge that off of confidence. So yesterday was the day that God bless the travel agents in this state. They were trying to tell you that there's so much excitement for the bowl game. And, man, you got to get in early because those prices are high. We got this. Our phones they're just ringing off the hook for people to go to Vegas and watch Nebraska as a 2-touchdown underdog play Utah.
No, it's not.
Exactly.
No, they're not.
But they got to sell it, right?
Do you know?
Yeah, get in early.
By the way,
those prices are going up. But I judge the confidence level of a fan base. Now, I know there's some financial aspect to this of if you're willing to travel to a road game, okay? So, Creighton thought,
I like that. You're totally right.
But if you are super confident and your team's going to go on the road and win in a building of your rival, you're buying a ticket, don't matter.
Yeah.
Very few Creighton fans. The confidence level of Nebraska fans, and they might benefit a little bit because there's a lot of, Husker fans in the Vegas area and California. It's a short drive. But there'll be a ton of Utah fans because only 6 hours from Salt Lake City, is you can judge the confidence level of the fans by the amount of people that go to the games. And you can see that in the road games that Nebraska plays. And God bless Nebraska fans. Because of the Nebraska fans, you're in the Vegas Bowl.
Yes.
Okay. And the Vegas, and here's what needs to stop. Nebraska needs to get in the playoff because bowls, as Nebraska is getting where they're back to playing in bowls, Bulls are taking advantage of Nebraska, okay, because of the loyal fan base, the most dedicated fan base going today. And they're like, we'll put Nebraska in. And they probably are not the best team. We should probably have that 8-4 team, but we'll take 7-5 because they're going to bring the fans. So everybody takes this for granted. It's time to stand up and say no. Yeah. But the confidence level, if you are super confident, I know there's the Vegas aspect of all the other stuff outside of the bowl, but if you're confident enough in your football team, you're traveling to Vegas and you don't even think twice about the price of the trip, right?
No, because if you're going to travel out to Vegas for the Vegas Bowl, you're not going for Nebraska football. You're going out there because it's like, hey, we haven't been to Vegas in a while. I'd like to take the missus out there. I'd like to take my sons out there.
But there's a lot of people from here that go to Vegas maybe at least once a year, maybe once every 2 or 3 years.
So they're like, hey, we haven't. This is how I see it. This is how I'm viewing it. If you're going out there for the Nebraska football game, you're going out there because you want to go to Vegas and you want to hang out in Vegas. And then, hey, on top of that, we're just happening to go to the Nebraska, the Nebraska game in a way, because they are 14-point favorites and they're playing a terrible matchup in Utah, who's seemingly going to run forever on this defense. It's almost as if the Nebraska game is the worst part of the Vegas trip. Yeah. It's like you happen to have to go out there and go to the game and watch.
But we'll have the bowl practices.
We will have
bowl practices more important than the game. If you wanted to get the full fans of Nebraska, especially from here, Nashville would have been a better destination because you could drive to Nashville.
Yeah, it's closer.
You're not entertaining driving to Vegas.
No.
But you would look at a trip to Nashville, which is probably 11 hours. You'd be like, yeah, no problem.
We can do that.
Yeah. So Nashville would have been the more fan-friendly.
Big time.
And people are saying that Nashville is the new Vegas. Get on Broadway.
Is that what they're saying?
Yeah. I wanted to ask, as I was watching this television report last night on a travel agent that was saying, man, the phones are just ringing off the hook.
They are not. They are not.
I don't want to judge their business. I don't know.
There's no way.
I don't know.
There's zero chance.
Do they? But here's what bowl trips have become, or they used to be.
Okay.
Now, we went through a while of not going to a bowl game, which is absolutely mind-boggling. The Nebraska football had the stretch from 2016 to last year of not going to a bowl game. How does that happen?
Bad football.
Thank you. Is the bowl chartered trips are for us silver sluggers. Okay? It's great.
They really
because
are.
You don't have to drive. You just got to get on a bus or you get on a plane and somebody else takes care of everything. And you get to hang with fellow Silver Slugger Husker fans.
Yeah.
And you're there for 6 days and you get to see all the sightseeing stuff, but you don't have to drive and park. You're on chartered buses. Okay, the tickets are taken care of. And you're with a bunch of other similar aged Husker fans.
Yeah.
The great chartered Husker bowl trips. Bring those back. Because I'm starting to get into that age where that's going to be me when I retire.
So are you pissed that bowls are becoming extinct because you can't take your... Did you dream of this when you were 28? Were you like, you know what? I can't wait to be 55. And I can't wait for Nebraska to be in the Orange Bowl.
Please let me live to 55.
I can't wait for them to be in the Cotton Bowl. And they're taking on Alabama, and where I'm going to be able to hop on a nice little bus and then go down to Tampa Bay, Florida and have it. Were you looking forward to that in 27 years from now?
No, because back then I was like, hey, if we leave at midnight, when will we get to Miami?
Well, when you were 28, I'm pretty sure you were being like, man, Eric Crouch, what a year. Is going to win the Heisman. It's going to be awesome.
Back then you were playing for the championship, so you didn't even think twice. But I have a solution for the Bulls because I imagine we're probably 3-4 years away from when we expand the playoff, the Bulls become even less.
By the way, you're spot on. Bulls aren't young people things. There's no group chat that I am in that's being like, hey, boys, let's go out to Vegas to see the Bulls.
Could I interest you in buying a Bull t-shirt? Like if you went to Husker Hounds, because Bull t-shirts used to be a thing.
Yes.
You would buy a Bull t-shirt.
I would.
Okay.
1,000,000%.
Yeah. We need to bring back game shirts. There were game shirts in Kansas City.
Well,
we used to have that company that would do funny game by game shirts they would sell at the bookstore. I haven't seen those before, but bring back the Bull t-shirts.
Game by game shirts.
Yeah, they would have. I can't remember the name of the company, but they were kind of funny, and they would have funny captions, and they would sell specific game shirts. Like, okay, you're playing Northwestern. So they would have something funny on the back of it about the Wildcat. But it was specific for that game.
It'd be funny if like I saw someone walking around with like a 2023 Purdue shirt. Being like, hey, remember when Harburg threw that G option pass to Jalen Lloyd? I was crunked in the North Stadium with whiskey and coffee.
I bet you were.
Dude, that was one of the like 5 games I went to in the student section.
If you want to make bowl games matter again, because like for Nebraska, we're going to watch the game. We're going to do a big red overreaction. Bishop and myself are going to do the show.
I know. It's going to be great. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
It's going to be about an hour.
No, it's got to be 2 hours, Gary.
Nope. It just has to be 6 breaks.
The Cubs aren't playing in the playoffs.
It's New Year's Eve. All right. People are going out to get crunked.
They are.
Yes. The bowl practices are more important than the game. And I think from Nebraska's standpoint, that is absolutely true. Is the bowl practices are more important than the game. But I have a solution for all the Bulls out there who, in a community, there's a lot of volunteers. It's a big deal. I want the teams to come and have a good time, but I also want them to be there. So if they don't want to be there, then I don't want them, and let's move on to another team. So we get 2 teams that want to be in our bowl. Why not move bowl games to the beginning of the year? Why not have this big kickoff for college football so let's say if we were doing this in my plan that the bowl games begin the season, but you are selected well ahead of time so you can plan and you move up the season and we start the season with all of these bowl games.
Yeah.
Okay. We start it in the middle of August. We have a bowl game to kick off the year. And you already know you're going to Vegas to play Utah.
Sure.
You don't know what you're going to look like. You don't know what Utah is going to look like, but that's your kickoff to the season, and it's in Vegas at the Vegas Bowl to begin the year. Are you more excited to go to a bowl game at the beginning of the year or at the end of the year in these bowls that are not inside of the championship window?
I think it's genius. Okay. I think it's genius from this. Like we've talked about this before of like college football doesn't really do the opening week as well as they can, right? Where there are other, like baseball kills it. Opening day, it's a national holiday. We all know it's coming. There are some people who sit down and they may not watch another game in April, but they're like, hey, my team, I'm watching it. College football doesn't really do that. Now, I have a feeling of what you're going to say here, but I have to throw it out there for logistical reasons. So it's genius from the point of we're doing opening day right. And for all the people worried about, these big non-con matchups are going away, it's a way for you to fully establish. No, you have to play a tough non-con game. Are we just telling some mid-majors, hey, F off? Like we're not going to, because you got to replace a game, right? So are we just kind of telling them
they're still going to get to play in a game that they're going to get some money to go to Birmingham?
Okay. But would you have 13 regular season games, or you would still have 12 regular season games?
You would have 13.
You would have 13 regular season.
You would add a month to the or add a week to the season.
Yeah.
And then every year you're guaranteed 2 buys.
Okay. I'm cool with that. If it's a 13-week season, you get 2 buys. That's totally fine. That's because I was just like, if we're still gonna keep it a 12 game, I'm still clutching my pearls and holding on to mid-majors mattering. And if mid-majors are going to matter, they need to play those games and they need to be paid out to keep their seasons alive or to keep their programs alive. If we're adding 13, hell yeah, I think it's a great idea. You have a great kickoff to the year. Everybody's jacked up for week 1. You solve the non-con issue, right? Where it's like, no, you have to play a Utah. Hey, Michigan, you have to play Texas. Like Illinois, you have to play this team. And also, too, like part of the reason why
generates so much offseason excitement.
Well, that's another
leading
thing.
Up to that game.
That's another thing too, where it's like I'm never going to think, and this might be a Nebraska thing, but like I'm never going to think the Huskers are any better than like week 1. Where it's like as the season kind of progresses for this fan base, it's almost as if the team gets a little bit worse and worse and worse. And by the time you get to the end of the year in the bowl game, you're like we are now, where you're like, I don't even want to watch this team play. You're never going to be more excited than when you haven't had football in months. And you're like, I'm going to see this.
And
team
this
play.
my idea would coincide with we're going to super leagues. I mean, we're only going to be Power 4. I don't think like the Birmingham Bowl or the Bahamas Bowl, that would do it at the beginning of the year. And we kind of did this back in the day when we would have the Kickoff Classic.
Yes.
And some of those. And we kind of did it with the Chick-fil-A thing right now. But let's just go all in on the bowls, begin the season. And you know what? Your season is over on Thanksgiving weekend. And then the playoff begins. Everybody's looking at what to do with the calendar, like moving up the season so that you can get it closer to ending on January 1. I mean, maybe this is a fix. It's just bowls are the importance of bowls.
They don't matter.
For some, they matter, but they don't. Like, I don't think it's anymore the bounce to the next year that it used to be.
But it's not like the ones that do matter. They're partly not even because of the football. Because do we like the Pop-Tart Bowl because like, oh, these two teams are playing and it's high level football? No, we like the Pop-Tart Bowl because it's stupid and it's silly and we're eating a Pop-Tart at the end.
And we like the Mayo Bowl because the coach gets mayonnaise poured on him.
Exactly.
I mean, you have to ask who benefits from the bowl game. Is it the locals? Is it the teams? Is it the fans? Is it the cheerleaders? Is it the band? Like who benefits? But what a great way to kick off the year.
It would be
if you knew already next year, Nebraska and Utah are going to play in Las Vegas in the middle of August to kick off the year. And you have all offseason to build up to that game as the Vegas Bowl.
Yeah, I love it.
And you could go out there even early because you're not in school yet. So you could get the bowl experience.
And also too, it would get rid of the whole, the students aren't here yet for the beginning of the season out of the way because you'd be at a neutral site.
All right, let's think in Brian before the break. Brian, welcome on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline.
Hey, good morning.
Morning.
Hey, might possibly have a solution for the college football playoffs. I know this could go for either 12 teams or 16 teams, but have they ever thought about playing games? Meaning college basketball does it. So like for this year, the teams that are sort of fighting for those last two spots, they do a neutral site playing game. So this year it would be like Bama versus Notre Dame, Miami versus BYU for the last two final at-large bids.
Ooh, I've not heard that proposed, but I'm vibing with you, Brian. I like this idea.
Because then you can attach two bowls to it, Brian, and then you make two bowl games more important, right? You can make the Citrus Bowl one of the play-in games. You make like another big bowl one of the play-in games too.
Yeah, and now if we could only get the commissioners to agree and get this moving forward.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame's AD.
Brian, great idea. Thanks for the phone call. I mean, how does that fit in a 14-team? How's it fit in a 16-team? How's it fit in the Big Ten idea of a 24-team playoff?
Wouldn't that actually be a great idea if you wanted to keep 12 teams, but then have pseudo 16 in a way where it's like you have the play-in games? I kind of like that. I hate the NBA play-in. I can't stand it. This would be a play-in.
The NBA Cup is back tonight.
I don't care about the NBA Cup.
They put up banners.
I don't care.
Anything that has a banner that gets put up is important.
They put up banners for the NBA Cup.
You remember the Lakers did?
That's embarrassing.
When they won the first one, they put it up.
That's embarrassing. If the Lakers are putting up an NBA Cup banner, Nebraska basketball should put up a Crown banner.
Very sore subject down in Lincoln.
Why is it a sore subject? You went to an off-season tournament and won it.
Because it's considered below the NIT.
I don't think it was above they had better competition than the NIT.
I think it's about perception. I'm with you. I think anything you play, you win, you should put up a banner.
And also, too,
banners are important.
If you're riding the wave,
we have a lot of them around here in the off season.
We don't. If you're riding,
yes, we do. They just put them in storage.
What, they move them from one closet to another closet? Is that what they? Hey, we got to move 94 through 97 from here to here.
You know what was one of the more depressing banners that used to be in the Hawks Championship Center?
What is that?
Is they used to have so they would have these banners and they'd have the national championships and they'd have Big 8 and Big 12 conference championships. There was 99 was the last time they won a conference championship. And now it's 2010, it's 2011, and you'd walk in there and you'd look at it and it would be stuck at 99. So they changed those banners.
Oh, really?
But yeah, you would just look at it and go, wow, 99's a while ago.
Well, you would go to Old Ryan Field and you would see in big bold letters Outback Bowl, and you'd be like, oof, okay. And then when they were the Big Ten, I remember I was playing NCAA for the very first time. Okay. And you're playing with guys who haven't been to stadiums before. And I was playing with my buddy who'd never been to Ryan Field. He's about to score on the Northwestern end zone, in the back of the Northwestern end zone. Massive 2018, 2020 Big Ten West champions. They are so big. They are so massive. He goes, what the? Like, he's like, you would have thought you won a national championship. That's it. It's always, I'll tell you this right now. When you go to Memorial Stadium, then you go to a different stadium where they haven't won a lot, you get to appreciate like what teams celebrate.
True. Sam McEwen will join us before the hour's over. Good lineup today, a regular Tuesday lineup, BC and AK. Coming up in the power hour of 9 o'clock on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in. Sam McEwen coming up in a little bit. We'll pick his brain on Rob Arich. He has watched some film. I would say if Nebraska can find a nickel and some linebackers, it's a good start.
And some D linemen.
Violence and energy. Well, yeah,
I'm
they're
still
gonna
on
have to. They're gonna have to pay. I think there will be a couple of guys who will be put in better spots along the defensive line. Again,
Yeah.
I think the defense it will play to their strengths. There were guys that were playing out of their strengths, and there was probably a position coach on the defensive line that was not his strength as a new college football coach.
They need a pure pass rusher. Like they need
They
a
need
guy.
edge guys.
Yes.
Edge guys that set the edge and can get to the quarterback in a 4-2-5 or a 3-4 or whatever they're going to do.
Yeah.
But linebackers, and it looks like a nickel. That rover / nickel position could be an important role in this defense.
Oh, big time. But another thing too that like, and now first off, what I'm about to say is like, you got to get there, right? Like, I want a guy that when you're in an obvious passing situation, that he lines up on the edge and you are looking at him the entire play, and you're like, here he comes, here he goes. Like if he's not going to sack the quarterback, he's going to pressure the quarterback.
Stand-up defensive ends, it looks like. They like a lot of walking guys up, but stand-up defensive ends.
They were, and that was a thing too, that we talked a lot like heading into the offseason about, or heading into the season about like the run defense and missing Nash and missing Ty. They lost 24 and a half sacks from 2024 to 2025, and they did nothing. They did nothing to address. Like they got Winery, and that was just kind of it in terms of like, all right, we're going to get this stud, potential pass rusher. Outside of that, they didn't add anybody that had merit who can get to the quarterback, and they had 1.5 sacks. That was 105th out of 136 teams this season. Like you got to get that guy this year.
All right, Sam McEwen's coming up next. We'll talk some football. Hey, we'll even sneak in some basketball. Nebraska got a big game tomorrow night against Wisconsin. Imagine people will go. People will go, as they usually do, to Nebraska basketball games at PBA.
Yeah, they only show up for the Creighton game is what I was told.
Yeah, I was told I could not say 1620, the GBR.
Why?
I was told I could not say that.
Who told you that?
Well, they're probably listening right now. They said, hey, no, you can't do that.
Well, I mean, maybe not every day, but on a day in which your basketball team won by 21 points.
I don't know. That result broke some people on this radio station. I was listening yesterday.
I imagine it did.
Wow.
It should have.
Hey, they are. I thought I'd walk in and I'd find a couple of guys that we work with that were laying on the floor that were broken. Yeah.
It broke a lot. It would break if you are the basketball school and you are the basketball team and you call it, oh, hey, that's the football school, and like they haven't won an NCAA tournament game, and the Crown. Oh yeah. Oh, we don't go to the Crown. We go to the NCAA tournament, and then you lose to that team by 21 points that you spend way less money than. I'd be broken too.
All right. I guess I don't see them. Maybe they got up and they dusted themselves off. But for the notion that Nebraska fans only go to PBA for the Creighton game, we'll talk to Sam coming up next on 1620 The Zone. All right, Matt Rule speaks later this morning. It'll be very newsy ahead of all the bowl prep that is going on for a trip to Vegas, where you'll find Sam McEwen hanging out on the strip. Maybe he'll have a little tweet up or something like that. But first, he stops by for his regular Tuesday appearance. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good. Hey, let's just dive right into Rob Orich. And I'm not going to say, hey, how much of the 24 San Diego State defense did you watch? But I know you started to watch some games from last year. Just your veteran eye, why do you think they had such a drastic turnaround on things that were implemented by Rob Orich that could possibly lead to a drastic turnaround from 25 to 26 in Lincoln?
That's a good question. I think they had a lot of guys come back, so they had a lot of veteran defenders return to the program. So he was inheriting an experienced unit. That said, in 23 to 24 at Nebraska, the 24 defense wasn't as good as the 23 defense, and there was quite a bit of experience coming back. So I think part of it was maybe the way that they coached and the way that they kind of got after it on the front. They didn't necessarily have large guys; they were undersized, but aggressive and tenacious, and they did a nice job in the back end covering. So they had a really, really good coverage unit that made it hard and made life hard on the opposing quarterbacks. And granted, they weren't facing SEC or Big Ten competition, but they were facing competition relative to the talent that they have on their roster. So Nebraska's got a more talented roster than San Diego State. So I think a lot of it was the way they played, the way they play defense. I wouldn't describe them as overly complicated.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did a nice job of getting after it and making plays and beating the man that was in front of them.
Sam, I was reading a CBS article yesterday, and it was, kind of it was one of those mixes, and being in the industry between being clickbaity and also being somewhat informational. And it was talking about the potential quarterbacks that could be in the portal. And obviously Dylan Raiola's name was in there. That's not what my question is going to be based on for you. My question is this. The assumption is that, hey, look, if you keep both Dylan Raiola and TJ Lateef, awesome. If Dylan leaves, then you have TJ, he's a good contingency plan. You go with TJ into the year. But I was reading some of the names on this potential quarterbacks enter into the portal. Sam Levitt was one of them. Lenore Sellers was in there. There's a plethora of really talented QBs. My question to you is, could you see a world in where Nebraska goes, okay, we lost Dylan Raiola, but we'll go ahead and get another big name quarterback. We could spend that paycheck that we would have put on Dylan.
It could. I don't know that would be the way they would go. I think they would probably go ahead and go get a veteran presence who doesn't necessarily cost millions of dollars. That would be my sense of it. So I don't know what the going rate for some of these guys would be. I don't really know if Lenore Sellers is coming back to college football.
Sure.
He might be going to the NFL. Sam Levitt is an injury issue, so I don't know exactly what's going on there, but obviously he's a talented player. But yeah, I think there's a good likelihood that Nebraska would go out and get a veteran presence. I don't know that I would describe that person as somebody who's gonna, come in and take up 92% of the revenue sharing portion that Dylan had. So Dylan's making quite a bit. So I think if they're going to do that, they would just as soon stay Raiola and move forward with a guy that's already been in the program for a couple of years and takes the commensurate jump in ownership. We had talked about that a lot last winter, and we were told he was doing that. And I don't question that he was, but I think there's another step for him to take in that journey.
Hey, sticking with portal, because Parker goes in, just kind of a exciting recruitment, a 4-star kid out of a place that Nebraska's tried to mine for a long time in St. Louis. Just, he was hurt when he got here. Seemed like he was in the doghouse. You never heard much about him, even into the fall when they were going to redshirt. The writing was on the wall. Are you the least surprised that he is into the portal this early before they even begin practice?
No, I'm not. You wish him well, but I think when they moved Mosey to the running back role, I thought it became pretty darn clear that some of these younger guys were going to move on. Isaiah Mosey came to Nebraska as a slot receiver, and then when he got here, I think they felt like his running back skills were elevated, and so I think that's just a natural understanding, because as it stands right now, they would have had 5 scholarship running backs, and they're going to go out and get somebody in the portal. I feel very confident that they're going to go out and get somebody who's older and put him on the roster too. So that would be like 6 guys at scholarship running back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not surprising to me that Parker left, and you wish him well. It just didn't work out here, and a change of scenery may do him well.
If I gave you the option for the defensive line to acquire an interior run stopper or a pure pass rusher for the defense, what would you take?
The run stopper. I think Nebraska has pass rushers. They need to be developed, and they need to play pass rusher. So Williams Nwaneri obviously did some of that. I think Keona Davis needs to be moved back outside and become a guy that hunts off the edge. I think once you do that, and maybe you do that with Ken Lenhart too, you're creating the players that you already have. And I think they've got guys in the roster. I think they, you want some interior players who can get after it, who are mobile, but also physical and hard to move. And can you get a player like that? Can you get a 4.3 or a 4.25 defensive tackle at 310 pounds? You better believe you can. Absolutely. Yeah. And so I'm sure that's what they kind of hope to do. I have no issues with the three-man front, 3-3-4, 3-3-5, whatever. But if you're going to land somebody head up over the center, that guy needs to be a very, very hard person to move, and needs probably to be 320, 325, very strong. And Nash Hutmacher was that. He was just hard to move. And you need to have a player like that if you're going to be in a 3-man line, because otherwise that guy can get double teamed and he can get shoved off the spot. I don't again, John Butler's gone. So there's not going to be any more, it's John Butler's fault or he didn't do it right, whatever. I don't think they had a 3-4.
No, they tried to have Van Poppel play on the nose. I mean, I think Riley Van Poppel, I think when they put him in a pass rushing defensive tackle, I think we'll see back to what we saw before this past year with him.
I think that's true. There's games where Riley only played 15 snaps though too. I mean, they had Elijah Judy playing that role, and it didn't work.
No.
Just he's probably a 2 technique, or it doesn't matter now. The reality is it's over, and I think that there were miscalculations made by a broad number of people related to that run defense. You had the head coach saying they were going to be hell on wheels in the offseason. I think it's just fine that you want to put that on. And say Butler wasn't a fit. I think that's probably true. But the reality is that I think Rhule's going to take back full control of this stuff, and it's going to be we're going to have a good run defense, and if he has to go over there and walk up and down the defensive line and get the results that he wants, all the better. I think there was a little bit of walk around head coach process where he was like, I'm going to take a half step back and I'm going to survey everything, and I think they did that last year.
But wasn't that the wrong year to choose that? Because you're right. I mean, those of us that have seen practice, he is very active, and he had this kind of relationship with Knighton where they'd get after each other, but Rhule spent time with the defensive line. You would think that last year was the wrong year to possibly do that, Sam, because you had a brand new defensive line coach, first-year defensive coordinator, that probably Rhule should have been more involved.
Yeah. I thought the offense was going to be better. Now, I'm going to write about that eventually. I hope I get around to it soon. There's a whole different part of this conversation where the defense that John Butler wants to run fits Nebraska a lot better if Nebraska's offense is better. And it wasn't. And that's part of the issue here. The Minnesota game was a total turning point. Obviously, they tried some things in that game that didn't work. They came back and they're like, okay, we're going to be a power running team that gets downhill, and we're going to give the ball to Emmett, and we're going to try to grind out wins. And, Dylan won him a game late against Northwestern, but we're going to grind out wins, and we need our defense to stop the run, and the defense couldn't stop the run, and so then they have to, and they didn't want to bleed them. They didn't want their defense to get bled out and give up 5-6 yards every single time, and so then they dedicated more resources to stopping the run, and then they couldn't stop the run, and then they couldn't stop the pass, and some of it all goes back to, you were paying a lot of money for that offense to be better than it was, and so I think that's part of it. You got to get to the point where, whether it's TJ or it's Dylan or it's whomever, that offense has to function in a way that's more explosive and dynamic and befitting of the person who's calling the plays. If you don't, you're hiring Dana Holgerson to take the thing over the top, not to call slice inside zone 34 times. I mean, there's a lot of people that can do that. So I think part of this conversation is about, okay, like, you're going to go play Utah. Utah's offense is really good. Their defense isn't that good. They've given up a lot of yards and at times points to teams. Are you going to go out there and play? You're going to play ball, or are you going to try to go out there and win 17-14? Because if you're going to do that, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck playing that team and holding them to 14. So I don't know. Like, I think there's a big part of the conversation. I understand why Butler's gone. He's going to get paid to leave, right? So, but
1.1.
But you've got to figure out a way to get that offense to where you want it to be, or your defense has to be so good that you can run this, primordial run offense over and over.
Yeah, we're vibing with you. Sam McCune of the World Herald joining us. So let's slide back to running back, and I'm in full agreement with you. Like, the numbers in key areas have gone up in the last year offensively, but the explosive plays that Dana, in his coordinating of offenses at numerous stops, those have been the big things. They're not there. And you have to find either the schematic part of it or the players. But let's slide back to running back, because it's almost like an open tryout for the next month to see who gets a leg up. But we know that Nebraska will dip into the portal, and there's some names that are floating out there. I mean, they could kick the tires again on Marty Brown, but we all have looked at running backs that are starting to jump into the portal. Do you believe that Nebraska's starting running back is currently on the roster?
I would say 40%.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Whoa.
we'll give them a chance in the bowl game.
Mhm.
I think you give these guys an opportunity, and if Mosey goes off for 135 and 2 touchdowns in the bowl game, is everybody going to look around and go, let's try to get this kid up to that level? Yeah, I think so. I think they would just as soon go let these guys really run at it in the bowl game, 110 miles an hour, and see what happens, with the understanding that they're going to go get a portal back anyway. And that I think everybody in that room kind of knows that. I don't think anybody's going to portal back. Nobody's going to do that. So what you do is you're like, listen, guys, you got 20 days now, and you can go make this thing your own and attack every second. Like it's an opportunity to be the starting running back at the University of Nebraska. And I think Nelson and Mosey will really attack it, and Barthel will make them attack it. And then you kind of see what they do. And then you match what they do against what you think you can go get, with the understanding that, again, if Mosey can't be the hammer back, then they're going to go get a hammer back, and that guy's going to be the guy that's running the ball inside the 20. And it's just the end of the story. They're screwing around with, it doesn't even matter anymore, but they're screwing around with tight ends doing sneaks, and they were missing Dante Dowdell, and like, as good as Emmett Johnson was, plunging him into a line when you need him to touch it 30 other times in the game, rushing and receiving, this doesn't seem that wise. Like, you need Emmett Johnson in the open field. It's where he's the best, is like catching the ball. And they needed a big back. And so they're going to go get one of those. And I'm sure what's going to happen is they're going to play this bowl game, and they're going to say, all right, guys, here's your chance. Now show us what you got.
Yeah.
And if you guys go out there and you have 3 carries for -3 yards, you missed 2 pass blocks against Utah, we're going to have the understanding is you're going to have a talk real soon after that about whether you're going to be on the team. Like, so there's a lot riding on that bowl game for some of these young guys. And again, Utah's defense is not that good. It's pretty good, but it ain't that good. And you can run it on them, and you can move the ball on Utah. Nebraska's defense is in for it. I think they're going to have to play incredible football. But that offense should be able to move the football if TJ is healthy, and fans should expect 350, 400 yards in that bowl game against Utah's defense. Utah's defense is undersized and imperfect at best. So that's what people should be watching. Everybody's been watching that defense.
Yeah.
But they just got the toughest assignment that they've had all year in a bowl game.
They got
So,
that
like,
assignment
watch
because
out.
of the fans.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They absolutely did. You should be glad they're not going to the Rate Bowl and playing New Mexico, because that's what Minnesota got. And frankly, Minnesota, beat Nebraska on a field. And Minnesota didn't get to go to Vegas, and Illinois didn't get to go to Vegas. So yeah, they got it for the fans. I'm a little surprised Utah is there, but I think that's probably where Utah wants to go, because it is, a hop, skip, and a jump from Salt Lake City down to Vegas. That's probably why Utah is there.
Indiana won the Big Ten, and the big play, 3rd and 6, they throw the ball. It was awesome. Comes down with the catch. They end up winning the game.
Yeah.
Curt Cignetti gets asked in the post game press conference, why'd you call that? And he goes, wasn't going to take my foot off the gas, and I'm not going to play to lose. Is that attitude? Is that just a trait coaches have, or can you learn that, Sam?
You can learn it.
Okay.
They've been really good at that kind of stuff over and over again. That's what they've been really good at all season. Throughout his entire tenure, is their receivers are extremely well coached.
Mm-hmm.
So, whether it's the touchdown pass to the back shoulder, or it's the 3rd down pass, and they're going over the top. Remember, Ohio State did that last year in the playoff. They threw it to Jeremiah Smith in the same situation. There's something to be said for making that play. I'm a big believer. If you're 1st and 10 at your own 2, throw it deep. Try to get behind the defense. So, I understand why they're doing what they're doing. Cignetti's done a really, really good job there of 2 things. One, their offensive and defensive lines play very, very violently, and they play very physically. And then 2, on the edges of the field, with the exception of they can't cover Jeremiah Smith, they're really, 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 really technically sound out there. They're just really good, and they do a really good job of winning one-on-one situations. Now, do I think they're going to win those one-on-one situations in 26 when Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper and Fernando Mendoza and these guys are gone? I don't know. That's, their backup is Mendoza's younger brother, and I wouldn't say that he has the same level of experience. So, I don't know if this is gonna last beyond this year. I think they're going to be a good team next year. I don't know that they're going to be 12-0. So, I think there's things about him that are very laudable and very successful. They have an incredible chance to win the national championship, and they are going to have one hell of a test. I think it's going to be Oklahoma. I don't think it's going to be Alabama, but they will face a team in Oklahoma that's actually very similar to them and wins in very similar ways. And they're going to have to, and they will be in a crowd that's probably more OU than Indiana. And so they're going to have a hell of a road, because even if they win that game, then they're going to get a 4-5 game where it's either Texas Tech or Oregon. And they're playing Oregon again. Won't be easy. So they're going to have a challenge to take this thing all the way to the end. And I think a lot of people will be rooting for them. A lot of people will be rooting for them, Texas Tech, and Ole Miss. I think those are your three national favorites based on the various stories of those programs. And I think all 3 of them have a chance to win the title. I would not favor them. I would favor Ohio State and Georgia. Those would be my 2 favorites. And Notre Dame would have been my 3rd if they had made it. Notre Dame might have even been the number 2 on the list. I think Notre Dame, whether you think they deserve to get in or not, was extremely dangerous because they can score. And when you get in the playoffs, defenses get loose. These days, if you play 3 weeks in a row like that, defenses get tired. The teams that can score are going to be really helpful. And look, everybody watched the Big Ten championship. It was a lot of fun to watch. Ohio State blew the game. And we don't want to say that because Indiana's a good story, but Ohio State blew the game. They blew the game. Yeah. And Ohio State's good at that. They're good at blowing games. That's a talent they have. And we'll see if they extend that talent in the playoff. But they blew the game. They shanked a kick or they pulled a kick, and then they had the goofy thing where the guy's knee fell on the ground on a fourth and one, and he shouldn't even have been sneaking it. Hand the ball off to your running back and go get a first down. But Indiana earned the win, and Ohio State gave it away. And they'll never change the result of that game. But the thing with the playoff now is now the Indiana is going to go do it again 3 times, and that will not be easy. It will be easier for Ohio State to do it. And I would still anticipate them winning the national championship based on the overall talent they have on their team.
Yep. Ohio State's the betting favorite. Sam, thank you.
Yeah,
We'll see you later today.
All right, take care.
That's Sam McCune in the Omaha World Herald. I think Indiana will take a lot of fans out to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, I think the Indiana Red will look a lot stronger than the Oklahoma Red.
Big time. Also, too, I feel like Oklahoma doesn't have near the offense that Indiana.
No, I think Oklahoma's closer to a 12 seed than an 8 seed. Their offense, since Mateer got hurt, has kind of sputtered. Their defense has been strong. Was watching. I was listening to Feinbaum yesterday.
Oh yeah.
You know they changed the finals schedule in Norman.
Really?
Yeah. So
That's
they moved
awesome.
up finals
I love
in Norman.
That's sick. Good for them.
You just-
And apparently we can't move the academic calendar for sports. Hey, by the way, we said this off air yesterday. Notre Dame, outside of the top 4, probably would have been the biggest threat to win the national title, and they're not in it. We got to do something about this committee, man. It's crazy.
I mean, do something about the committee. Get rid of them. Go back to computers. Only go back to 4.
I don't know.
4
man.
with the New Year's 6.
I mean,
There'll be some good matchups this year?
How do you leave the team that probably would have had the 5th or 6th best betting odds to win the national championship out?
Because it's a TV show. You need drama, and college football is imperfect.
Well,
welcome.
If they finish in the top 12 next year in this TV show,
Yeah.
they automatically get in.
That's
which
true.
is crazy.
That's true. All right, and we won't miss them. We won't miss them. We'll still watch the games.
Oh, yeah.
We won't miss them.
I'll miss hating against them.
Well, there's other teams to hate.
Not really.
There's a network to hate.
There it is.
Notre Dame stood up to the network we hate that's driving the narrative of college football,
Yeah.
and we choose ESPN's side. No, you're doing it wrong. They stood up to ESPN. We're back with hour number 3 of Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. This used to be a ABC theme for the NBA.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
04 finals.
Everybody.
This is where I heard this song. I'm like, I got to have this song.
The Pistons put the belt to
was
that
it every
Laker
year?
ass.
Was every year get started was a playing song for ABC?
Just 04.
Oh, okay.
04 playoffs and mostly the finals.
I like that.
And then Shaq went to Miami, and the rest was history.
You know, like they took Stranglehold away from the Blackhawks games, but I was even more pissed when they took away You Had a Bad Day after American Idol.
Yeah.
You know, you get eliminated from American Idol. They play the montage, come back. It was like 2017. They do it, and you're like, where'd it go? Where'd it go? What happened?
American Idol is still in the air, correct?
Yes, it is. It had a reboot. It has Lionel Richie, Katy Perry, and Luke Bryan.
Okay, so it's kind of like the same people that have been on it for the last 4
It's
or
like
5
some
years.
STDs.
Yeah.
It won't go anywhere. It'll never go away.
Okay.
They'll always be American
Okay.
Idol.
Is that true?
I
It
think
did
so.
go away for a minute.
But it
had-
comes
not
back.
not the American Idol, the other part.
Some, not all.
Yeah, that is true.
I wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know either, but
Oh,
some famous
I
athletes
think you had
wouldn't
to tell
know.
there. Well, once Simon left American Idol, I was done.
Well, yeah.
Is Seacrest still hosting?
I don't
One of
know.
his 46 jobs that he
He's on
has?
Wheel of Fortune.
By
Watching
the way,
that
why
last
is he
night.
still working? Like that guy has worked so much and has probably made
Some people like to work. They
But he's-
like the money. They like the interaction. They like the fame.
He probably has a podcast, and if he doesn't have a podcast, he should
I
start a
think he does.
podcast, and it would make a ton of money.
Well,
He
he
could just do
finally.
that. That's what Amy Poehler's doing.
I think he finally gave up his radio show in Los Angeles
Good for
because
I
it
think
was
you're right, yeah.
syndicated, but a lot of markets would air it like later in the day.
he never sounded like he
And
would.
he's not on with Kelly Ripa anymore.
He would be on the radio in Chicago, and he would. I never really knew it was Ryan Seacrest until it was like at the end of the show. He would say his like he did not sound the same or talk the same or anything like that on the radio that he did on TV.
Like a deeper voice.
I don't know. I just never really. It was just it was Ryan and somebody else, and then it would be like, all right, Ryan Seacrest here. I'm like, oh my god, it's you. I didn't know you're the guy. He's a big deal. No, Simon's now on America's Got Talent. He's made that into his money cow.
Too many music shows,
There's
dancing shows,
there's
too many SUVs.
That's not true.
Yeah.
It's actually there's too many reality TV shows. There's only like The Masked Singer, The Voice, and American Idol. Those are your 3 singing shows. Then you have your one talent show in America's Got Talent, and then you have Dancing with the Stars. That's really it. There's only like 5 of them.
Wow.
Which, by the way, Dancing with the Stars has turned into the NFL.
Are you going to the traveling Dancing with the Stars that's coming to Omaha?
So no, but I will. I might be in town for when it goes to Chicago, and apparently the tickets are super expensive. So no, I won't be going there. But they're doing like a pop-up meet and greet with one of the stars, and the guy Andy
Wow.
Richter is the one you can do the meet and greet.
I know
with.
him.
And he was awesome. He was awesome this season. So
He was in the
I have a
Conan
couple.
show.
I have a couple girlfriends, and they want to go and
Whoa.
meet him and everything like that. So
I like
might
where
go
this
with
is going.
friends who are girls. It's the best way to describe it.
Ah.
Girlfriends.
This whole conversation tells me that I watch way too much sports. There's a good night of ball night again tonight.
There is.
There are 2 college basketball games in the area. Omaha men play Doane. It is their non-Division 1 game. That'll be at 7:00 at Baxter Arena. You can hear the game over on News Talk 1290 Coil. And the Omaha women, may God have mercy on their soul, they play at now ranked Nebraska. Omaha women's basketball is in a better spot than it's been in a while.
Mhm.
Jamie Carey, it was a really, really good hire, and she recruits local, which is wild that the previous head coach never recruited locally. Just blows my mind. But Omaha women's basketball, better spot. Omaha women might get beat by 80 tonight.
Is it that bad?
They don't
Well,
have
I
a
mean,
lot of bodies.
okay.
They have,
Because
they
Nebraska-
have, they have
and-
some players that are learning how to play Division I basketball,
Yeah,
and they're going to play Nebraska tonight. I think they might get beat by 80.
that's a shame.
Happer's going to have to find some fill. I don't know what the spread is. Where would I find a women's basketball spread?
Hey, Gary, I'm not even that much of a D word to know where to find a women's basketball spread. I can look on I'll guarantee you the CBS Sport app probably has it. Do you have the CBS Sports app, by the way?
No, I got
It is-
rid of it.
it
It
is-
is worthless.
No, it's not.
I believe it was worthless.
No spread. Typically, the CBS Sports app will give you
Okay.
like all the spreads. There's no spread. It's just Omaha's 1-8, and they're taking on number 24, 9-0 Nebraska women's basketball.
Yeah. They might get beat by 80. Okay. They might not score 20. No, they might not score 30 in the game.
I'm now looking at all.
But they're in a better spot than they've been in a long time. Don't judge their
Sure.
program off of tonight. She's a really good hire that will probably have one of those magical years and then bounce to the next, like a Power 5 job.
the Stony Brook Columbia line moved. That's interesting.
Okay. That's when you are, that.
What? It's
That's
on
why
my
they come
app.
to the
I get
show.
to it tells me on the app. It was
I
at
did,
5.5 yesterday.
I
It moved
looked
down
up
to 4.5.
the net rankings this morning.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
This is a fun exercise.
For some it is.
Yes.
Well, so, it was nice. I had my minute yesterday to see that Nebraska got ranked for the first time in 7 years. And now you got to go out and do it.
I thought you were going to say you had your minute to gloat or not gloat, but taking the fact that Nebraska.
No. Hey,
won't
no.
beat Creighton.
No. Life comes at you fast. If you go 0-2 this week against the two best teams you have played on your schedule, people are like, well, so, tomorrow night at
It's the big
PBA,
show.
PBA against Wisconsin will be a huge game. Wisconsin is a good team. I mean, I'm figuring out in my head how I'm going to guard John Blackwell, who has gotten 26 or more in 3 straight games. And then you have Boyd, and then you have Winter and Rapp, and all 5 guys scoring double figures. I mean, it's going to be a difficult game tomorrow night. But if Nebraska is tourney level, that's a game that you find a way to win, because it's probably a 50-50 game. Nebraska even might be a slight favorite in that game on
No
the
spread.
race to get to 21. That's the magical number to me, is 21. 21, and you can say my name. Say my name on Sunday. But the net rankings this morning.
21 would be what, 11-9 in the.
Yeah, you have a couple of non-conference games.
so you
still
got
left.
2
You have
left.
North Dakota and New Hampshire.
And New Hampshire. So 10-10. I think you're
Yeah.
right. If you go 11-0, or if you go 11-0 in non-con, and then you follow that up by going 500 in a Big Ten, that, to your point, will probably be a little bit more top heavy, and maybe less even than what it's been the last couple of years. But still, I mean, there's no days off in the Big Ten. You're in. You're good.
Nebraska's 23rd in the net ranking this morning. Creighton is 108.
Nebraska's 23rd, and they have so they're 3-0 in Q2 victories. They haven't had a quad 1 win yet, which is fine.
Well,
they haven't had an opportunity.
They haven't played. So these are Wisconsin, Illinois, and that's the road game on Saturday. Yeah. The Fighting Illini, with the Euros, are 13th in the country.
the Euros in Boswell.
Yeah. Nebraska this is the first time they played 2 teams inside of the top 50 in the Ken Palm.
Wisconsin's net ranking. Let me find it here. By the way, John Blackwell is so Wisconsin's currently 55th. But then Illinois is 13th in the net ranking. John Blackwell Mellow Trimbled the Northwestern Wildcats the other night. It was disgusting to watch. He's good.
Well, it's odd to watch Wisconsin, and they have offense
Yes,
for the second straight year.
And Gary, they have pace. They're like moving up the floor, and you're like, they grab the board, and 7 seconds later they're in the paint, and you're like, what the hell is this? What has Greg Gard done? So Blackwell had 22 points in the first half. It was embarrassing. The Cats were never even. They were down basically 16 the entire game.
Yesterday, the Heisman finalists were announced. I don't think there's any surprise.
No, not at all. I did a fun
And people
little.
think that my first place vote is among the 4 that were mentioned yesterday.
I think yours is.
Love, Sayin, Mendoza, and Diego.
We should do a thing where I try and guess your ballot.
Okay. I mean, I can't tell you until Monday.
No, I know.
Do you know who the preseason Heisman favorites were according to the odds?
Arch was plus 600. Nussmeier was plus 600 or plus 900, and Klubnik was plus 900.
Did you bet on those? Because
No.
you know those really well. Oh, you're looking at it.
I wrote them down in my note sheet because I did the same exact exercise as you. Can you guess to me? Let's do this one before I guess your ballot. Can you guess to me what the top 4 odds were for all these guys in the top 4? Like what each guy's odds were heading into the year? Because I did that too.
I would guess that Sayans was the highest of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He was 22-1. Can you guess?
Mendoza was off the radar because he was coming from Cal.
60-1.
Diego was probably a little bit off the radar, but not much.
You know what? I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
We were both wrong. 150 to 1 to win the Heisman to begin the year. Julian Love was 35 to 1. So you had a 6 to 1, 9 to 1, 9 to 1. The three, Arch, Nussmeier, Klubnik, didn't even sniff it. Okay. Didn't even sniff it. And then you had 22, 35, 60, and 151. That's probably what it's going to be, by the way, for like with the transfer portal and like guys like Pavia coming from New Mexico and Mendoza coming from Cal. Like, and then you got a guy like Sayin who was a top transfer, like a top prospect, but like hadn't played. Like, I think that preseason Heisman betting, even though I would never really support it to begin with, might be the most useless thing. Like, I think if you want to bet the Heisman, you're better off betting it like in week 8 or in week 7 when you got like, can you imagine if you're like plus 600 for Arch? He was out of the race after one game. And he was 6 to 1.
I think there's a lock in that 4.
I think it's Mendoza.
First time in 58 years you won a conference championship. Ohio State has a finalist for the 7th time in the last 8 years.
I think you went, just knowing how you and I have talked this year, because you only get first place, second place, third place, right?
Yeah, you only get 3 votes.
I think you went Mendoza, Pavia, Sayin. And if there was a 4th place vote, I think you would have went Love. And if there was a 5th place vote, you would have went Emmett Johnson. You can't say anything, I know, but we will reconvene after the voting is over. By the way, I did not place a futures bet on the Heisman this year. I did not have my Travis Hunter moment.
And we will see what the vote tallies are for Emmett Johnson.
Yeah, I
think may have somebody that says, you know, what the hell? Emmett Johnson, here's my number 1 vote.
Yeah. I went to school there. I don't
It
follow.
is not me. It is not me.
I don't really follow college football closely enough. There you go, Emmett. Here's a first place vote.
I think Emmett Johnson will have a first place vote.
Yeah, me too.
Oh. Well,
it'll be something.
They put you through the ringer this year as a Heisman voter. Like, they did a lot of like background, a lot of questions of how much football you watch. Yeah, to vote, it has become really security based.
Good
like
for
when
them.
I start, and they don't open up the voting until Saturday.
Chris in the YouTube chat goes, weakest Heisman of all time. You're good at this stuff. Would you agree with that? It's the weakest?
Like in the terms of candidates?
Yeah. Probably. Yeah. I think that's what he's referring to. Probably winner. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. Like, is it because there's a lock? It makes it boring.
I think Chris is trying
or just
to
the
say,
style of play.
I
the
think
player.
Chris is trying to say it's like the worst player Heisman. That like the player who's the Heisman is like the worst Heisman in terms of like ability.
Let me table that. That's an interesting discussion. Now I will the thing that really makes these 4 guys that is unique and really good for college football. Well, 2 things. One, you can come to the Big Ten and be an NFL quarterback or win awards, because 2 of the probably 3 first-round quarterbacks in the upcoming draft in April will be out of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
One may or may not win the Heisman. The other plays at Oregon. The other plays probably at Alabama. But you look at the recruiting. This is where the Big Ten is starting to take off and pass the SEC, is the quarterbacks. Quarterbacks can come to the Big Ten, and it doesn't matter what school, and they can come here and play, and they know that they're going to get paid, and they're probably going to go to the NFL. But there's another part of the storyline, because Mendoza has a chance to win the Heisman and be the first overall pick, depending on who has the pick.
Yeah, and depending on the combine.
So I think from the Big Ten standpoint, it's great that you can come to the Big Ten and you can be successful as a quarterback. I don't care about the weather. You know what? There's a lot of teams in the NFL that play in cold weather.
Exactly.
The other part of the 4 Heisman finalists, and I think this is big for college football and growing a regional sport, you have a Latino finalist and you have a Hispanic finalist.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can overlook that, because when we think of the demographic of college football, we don't think of Latinos or Hispanics that are into American football.
Yeah.
We try
That's great.
because we have Spanish language broadcast,
Yeah.
but it's never really a market that college football has been able to get into.
Mhm.
More of an NFL market by far.
Yeah.
If you're going to watch football in this
big
country.
time, big time.
But you now have a Latino finalist and a Hispanic finalist. And I hope that that story is told so you see if there is a new base of fans out there that will come into your game. I think that's an area in this state that Nebraska has tried, but I think could try harder to get the Hispanic population in the state of Nebraska to
Yeah.
become more of a college football fan.
I think it's well said, and it's funny. I had a conversation with my mom, who's Cuban, and she told me, goes, "I love Fernando Mendoza. He's a because he's a
Because he's
Cuban.
goofy?
Because he's Cuban. Okay, and by the way, he is a very Cuban looking Cuban. Like he's a Cuban man. He's a Cuban guy.
Do I
Okay.
dare ask the follow-up question of what does a very Cuban man look very
If you know,
Cuban?
I mean, it's my uncles. He just looks like a couple of my uncles, like he looks like the guy, like, my cousins and the people I grew up with. He's just like, he's a Cuban. But look, anyway, all this to say, Gary, you're totally spot on the fact that my mother, who really isn't all that into sports, right,
Mhm.
looks at the representation of Fernando Mendoza as being a, Cuban ethnicity, and has a lot of pride in the fact that there is a Cuban Heisman football, potential Heisman winner. And like representation, especially with all the cameras and all the media and all the
Mhm.
marketing and all the stuff that we do, and how popular just things continue to grow, matter more than anything in terms of getting fan interest, right? And growing the game. Like, look at like the World Cup, right? Like
Yeah.
there were 1 billion people. There were 1 billion people who watched the drawing of the World
That
Cup.
was a circus, by the way, that show.
It was bad. It was, I don't know why couldn't they just bring up a bunch of soccer people and just have them unscrew it? Anyway,
Because it's political.
you're totally right. And getting to the point where it's like, if you are going to get more and more people of different backgrounds and different ethnicities, like it's awesome to see them being represented. And like, you gotta, the ESPN and all the other media companies have to take that step too, in terms of putting them out there, when they are accomplishing great things and when they are at the top of the sport. So, like we've seen, like Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto and Sasaki and Imanaga and all these, Japanese baseball players. Like, I think the MLB has done a great job of, hey, when Shohei is Shohei and Sasaki and Yamamoto is Yamamoto and Imanaga is Imanaga, they're promoting them and putting them out there and bringing in more. And the Japanese population already is massive when it comes to the interest in baseball, but it's grown the sport on an international level even more.
Fremont Fred, prepare yourself for this tweet. So just say the word and I'll direct the Latino population in Nebraska to football. I am a man of the Latino people. In all seriousness, they are the main driver of wanting me to be the mayor of Fremont.
He needs to be the mayor of Fremont.
I think he looked into it.
Did he actually?
Well,
That's
because the
awesome.
mayor of Fremont now works in the Pillen administration. I think I jokingly said, "Are you going to put your name in the hat to be the mayor of Fremont?" And he may have given me a typical Fremont Fred response, but then I think he said, "Yeah, I'm looking into it."
Have you thought of becoming the Urbandale,
No,
Iowa
no.
mayor?
No,
You-
but we
you-
are trying to get a
you and-
different zip code
You and Bob.
in Urbandale.
You and Bob, are you friends?
No,
How do you say his last name? Andewig?
the
Bob.
mayor of Urbandale.
Yeah.
I have no idea who it is.
I just looked. You didn't. I thought you would definitely know who the
I
mayor
don't
of
have.
Urbandale is.
I don't have any family that lives in Urbandale anymore.
Oh, okay. Bob Andewig is the mayor of Urbandale. I was totally expecting you to be like, yeah, Bobby and I get drinks or something like that.
When
I mean,
was,
you and
when I was
Edward
growing
James
up,
are friends.
when I was growing up there, the mayor of Urbandale was the same person for a long time, but I can't remember their name. But I know that they were there for like 20 years.
I'm going to be honest with you right now. If you told me to name one mayor of where I grew up my entire life, I could not tell you. I do not know who the mayor of Skokie is. I don't know what one mayor of Skokie's name has been. I barely know the mayors of Chicago. Barely knew.
Whoa. I know the mayors of Chicago. Harold Washington, go. Richard Daley, Sr., go.
Rahm Emanuel.
Okay. How about Richard Daley Jr.?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
and then there's Lori Lightfoot.
Yeah. And then the current mayor,
There's
Johnson.
Brandon Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah. There you go. That's it.
Anybody in between?
No.
I loved Harold Washington. And that's when I was watching WGN because I was watching the Bozo Show. Okay. So we'd have WG on because you'd watch the Cubs.
Sure.
Okay. But then I'd watch the 9 o'clock news on WGN because I thought it was really cool that they had a 9 o'clock news. And I got to know Dan Roan. So the first time I ever met Dan Roan, who was the longtime sports director at
Yeah.
WGN,
Yeah.
him and Rich King were the pair. Oh, I was
Shout
like,
out
this
Tom
is
Skilling.
awesome. Yeah. Tom Skilling, legend.
So
Yeah. So I got to know
By the-
Chicago politics. So I was all in on Harold Washington. I don't know if he was a crook or not, but
we don't.
I was just
well,
kind of cool.
We don't talk about the. We kind of.
He has a library named after him.
Well, we got to keep.
It's
we
a
don't-
big deal if you
yeah.
have a library named after you, I'm told.
I
Gary,
love
don't-
the Illinois lottery drawing that they used to show, and
Yeah.
the balls would go in the
Don't-
machine. They had the one at noon, and then they had the one at
There
night.
are a couple rules that I live by. One of them is I don't talk about the potential, crookedness of Chicago mayors. That's just really not a great road to go down. Just want to stay safe here in this.
Why? If they're crooked, they're crooked. They've probably been convicted, right?
No,
You think it's fake news?
no, they probably. Well, one did, and that's actually the one I had the closest connection to. In
The
terms of
governor?
yeah, Blagojevich.
You had a connection to him?
There was a lot of people in the Notre Dame
He is
college.
Sit back, kids.
He has jumped the shark.
There is a lot. Oh, big time. There was a lot of people in the Chicago community that I knew that really liked Rob. They're like, oh, Robbie and everything.
I think there were a
like
lot
that.
of people that liked him when he was at
There was
in
a
Springfield.
There was a ton of people that liked him, and then he did what he did. Don't sell seats.
I know. Hey, make sure you go through your third party when you're out there trying to figure out if you're going to get seats for Zach Bryan or not. All right, 8:20.
That's not the same as the U.S. Senate. That is not the same.
All right, 8:22. Brian Christopherson coming up at the top of the hour. We talked about Rob Orich, the new defensive coordinator. We have not talked about Jeep Ford,
Jeep Wade.
the new offensive line coach in
Is-
Nebraska. Matt Rule. I would think. Let me check my inbox here.
We haven't got anything.
Okay.
Is he the first Nebraska assistant to be named after a type of vehicle? Was there like a motorcycle Williams who was like a D line? Was there like a Harley Davidson? Was there a Honda Richards who was like the linebackers coach?
Sorry, Milton Dan. All right, we're back with more of Gary and Matt after this. It's 16:20 The Zone. All right, welcome back in, Gary and Matt. Jimmy on 1620 The Zone TV, everywhere you can find us. You can also interact with us in the Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally. Andy writes in, Gary at 1620thezone.com. Interesting to notice Latinos in wrestling, a sport in Nebraska high schools that's gaining a lot of popularity and participation among Latinos is wrestling, especially girls wrestling. One of the, I think she's nationally ranked, Jocelyn Prado, who goes to Johnson County, which is west of Auburn in the southeastern part of Nebraska. I think she is nationally ranked. She's a 2-time state champion at 100 pounds.
That's awesome.
So that is yes. And I think her brother. I think her brother might be a state champion as well at 106. But they were interviewed last year at the state wrestling tournament, and they have a wrestling mat in their house.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's incredible. I wish I grew up with I wanted to put a net, a hockey net in my basement, and my mom was like, I like the walls in my basement. I don't want you to put holes in them, so we weren't allowed to do that. Which, by the way, talking about Rob Blagojevich jumping the shark, we've jumped the shark when it comes to hockey gear. Okay, I went to a hockey store yesterday. I looked at sticks that used to cost like $110 that were going for $250. Okay, I picked up a stick that was $400, Gary, and I go, like, even if this was $150, I wouldn't buy it. We have completely lost the plot on some of gear in hockey.
Oh, too bad you're not a baseball guy. You would have to go and get bats, and you would see the price on those.
I wanted to get that bat from the College World Series. I wanted them to give that to me. I got a glove, though. They gave me a glove, and then I looked at what the price of that glove was, and I was like, holy crap. By the way, travel baseball is just following in the footsteps of travel hockey. Travel hockey is about 10 years ahead of travel baseball, and travel baseball is continuing down that path of where now you got to buy, the sliding mitt with the ice cream cone, just like, I had to buy the purple laces and get the fire tape and, make sure I have a McDavid curve on my stick.
Speaking of baseball, there ain't no Ed Service program anymore. Yesterday, Creighton baseball under Mark Kingston, who, was pretty open about upgrading the non-conference schedule. Creighton is already going to go to Miami and play, and they're going to play one game at Alex Bucks in March. They announced that yesterday. So they're going to be very aggressive with their non-conference scheduling. On the road, we'll see if they can continue, because there's some sexy name teams that like to stop in Omaha, but good on them for playing a difficult non-conference schedule. I don't think Ed believed that they needed to.
Sure.
But new sheriff in town for Creighton baseball, so good on them. That will 3-game series at Coral Gables at Mark Light, and then they're going to go to Alex Bucks for one game in March.
Taking the Creighton basketball approach of having a tough non-con. I hope it goes better for them than it has for Coach Max. By the way, this is where I ask you. By the way, this is where I ask you because I'm not a college baseball guy.
No. Hold on. Josh Dix game on Saturday. That's my prediction. Early prediction.
It's got to be somebody's game on Saturday outside of Austin Schwartz. Alex?
Well, yeah, I would say so.
But like, if it was an Owen Freeman game, you would take I would take for Creighton basketball at this point would take for any of their top players that they spent a lot of money on to go ahead and take the reins of the team and be like, nah, MFers, we aren't going away. Like, we're not going quietly. Where Alex Box? What college is that?
LSU.
Okay, gotcha.
The 2-time in the last 3 years national champion of college baseball.
I just didn't know what the name of their stadium.
Famous stadium.
This is where I go.
Shout out
I
Kellyanne.
know you're
Good
going to
morning.
make fun of me for asking you.
No, maybe I should. I just took for granted that you would, you spend some time around some college baseball.
Yeah, I spent time at the College World Series in which I talked about football more than I talked about college baseball. To be fair, we did also.
But LSU was playing.
Well, yeah, and I did book Jay Johnson to be on the show, so I probably should know where his home stadium was. I know it's embarrassing to be on the home of the College World Series and not know where they play, but I had to ask because I couldn't just nod my head and be like, yeah, I definitely do know who Creighton is playing for one game this year.
Hey, so this radio station carries the Creighton games, and we had some fun yesterday. I hope, judging off conversations on 1620 the GBR yesterday, Nebraska fans, you've been tasked. I guess you don't go to games when
Yeah.
it's not Creighton. So I hope you show up tomorrow night. Maybe if Nebraska can get like 5,000 in PBA, that'd be good because they're going to need them for Wisconsin. Nebraska Ball Mike said people got to show up. So I'm hoping that people show up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because I learned that, people only show up for the Creighton game at Nebraska. So I hope that's not the case. I have an opinion on it, but I don't want to drive the narrative. I think maybe we can get 5,000 in there tomorrow night. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
I mean, who could
Yeah.
ever forget when that arena was actually home to a 20-game win streak in which almost all of the Big Ten games that happened there were sold out.
Yeah. So,
and it was like the best place it was. My senior year was literally made by Nebraska basketball.
So let's prove Bishop wrong. Bishop said that Nebraska basketball fans only show up for the Creighton game. So let's try and get like more than $5,000 in there tomorrow.
I think that's a good goal.
Okay. Let's do that. Let's do that. It's a big game. It looked good on TV.
You're shooting high.
Yeah. But speaking of Nebraska and Creighton basketball, I had this discussion yesterday with somebody, and it was two people that one would be considered, well, if you want to use the word Jasker, he went to Nebraska and went to Creighton. So he has 2 degrees from both schools.
Okay. That's allowed, by the way.
And contributes to both schools.
Yeah.
Like in both athletic programs.
See, that's not a J-Sker. That's just you're an alumni. Like to me, like that, like because J-Sker has the negative connotation and everybody. You went to both schools. You contributed to both schools.
But
he
supports all the sports at Nebraska and all the sports at Creighton.
Good for him.
But he has become a huge Creighton basketball fan.
That's great.
Which is perfectly fine. I mean, I would too if I didn't have a basketball team to root for.
Sure.
But I've stayed loyal because I still think the 90s are coming back down in Lincoln. I think
Is that-
Danny Nee's walking through that door.
Oh, I was going to say, is that for football or for
So
basketball?
we had this discussion yesterday, and then the other part of this other person that was in this discussion is a diehard Nebraska across the board fan. Okay, they're not from Omaha; they live in Lincoln, and he asked the question to both of us: when do you think there will be do you think that the J-Sker will ever end in Omaha? Because I have a different perspective. I've lived in both cities. I didn't grow up here, so
Yeah.
when I grew up with Creighton, it was my parents were Drake season ticket holders, and we would go watch Creighton play.
Sure.
But I knew of Creighton.
Yeah.
But also, when I was in Lincoln, Creighton basketball was god awful. Okay, it was
Yeah,
Rick
that's-
Johnson.
Yeah.
Now, what happened is Creighton basketball started to crank it up when Nebraska basketball took a dip, and Creighton went from 0 to 60 while Nebraska put it in reverse. And so a lot of people that lived in this town that were Nebraska fans, but also probably Creighton fans, Nebraska basketball made it worth the trip down on a weeknight to go see them play.
Yeah.
But instead, you got a program that is taken off, that is going to the NCAA tournament consistently, that is right in your backyard, but you already support, so why not support them more? And so the question was posed, do you think that Fred or who else at Nebraska basketball could ever chip into the J-Sker thing? And I immediately said no, because Creighton basketball has gotten to a level which I don't know if Nebraska for a while will be ever able to get up consistently to that level.
Yeah.
So it would have to do that to get somebody to go, oh, you know what? Used to be a diehard Creighton basketball fan. I'm going to stick with my football and my men's basketball. So
Yeah.
I don't think Nebraska has the ability to chip into that. Here's where Nebraska needs to find a way to chip into it, is because then we got into recruiting, and you look at the rosters that played on Sunday, the number of Nebraska kids, and Nebraska has more Nebraska kids than they've had in a while, but they have Nebraska kids that are contributors, 3 in
Yes.
particular. This is where Fred has Nebraska ignored Omaha for the longest time. When Miles and a Rope went sideways, when they went sideways, Nebraska basketball got crushed in this town. And Nebraska basketball wasn't good.
Yeah.
And Creighton basketball was really good. And you had more players in this town that are ballers that if they were going to stay home, they were going to go to Creighton, because I grew up wanting to be a Blue Jay fan. You don't hear many high school kids grow up and go, man, I want to be a Husker, and that's what
Sure.
I want to do. And I don't know, it's still going to take a while to change all of that. So roundabout way to say, in this conversation with these two people, I said, I don't see it happening unless Creighton just falls off the map.
Yeah.
And I don't see that happening at all.
It hypothetically could happen if Nebraska went to a very high consistent level and Creighton fell off the map. I just don't think you can plausibly say that will really occur. You know, either of them happening or both of them happening, right? Now, I do think there is one area.
Also, I understand the trash talk amongst offices and places of business in this town between Nebraska and Creighton grads was not as good as it could have been yesterday.
Well, because
I was surprised. Even the trash talk on this radio station was very muted.
Well, it's because it was an ass whooping. As somebody who was in a rivalry who gets their ass whooped all the time, you don't really talk crap when you get your ass whooped. You talk crap when it's a close game. It was an ass whooping. Do you know what Fred could cut into, though? Like, and this isn't just Fred. This is just like the Nebraska basketball program having success. There are a lot of students who go to the University of Nebraska who are from Omaha, who are around my age, who grew up Creighton fans because they've only known, you know, good Creighton basketball, really, and competitive Creighton basketball. So they've become big Blue Jay fans. So they go to the University of Nebraska and they root for the football team, but then they stick with their basketball team in Creighton because they're like, hey, Creighton basketball is still awesome. They're still doing great. Nebraska basketball isn't all that awesome, right? But if Nebraska basketball ends up being consistently good, you know, there's no pride that you'll ever have more than the pride of the school that you went to and the teams and watching the teams that you saw play in your college years have success. And so, like, I think there's a potential if Nebraska basketball is good that kids who grew up in Omaha as Creighton basketball fans, when they go to the University of Nebraska, you could probably flip them if they endure 4 really good years of watching good basketball teams, going to the NCAA tournament, and having success. Like my roommate is like that. Like Dan went to the University of Nebraska, but he's a Creighton basketball fan because for 3 years, Nebraska basketball wasn't really that good. And Creighton basketball was awesome. Went to the Elite Eight. He's like, that's my team. But you could probably cut into that if Nebraska basketball is great.
You'd have to start stacking. I mean,
you have to stack a lot.
You have to find your way playing on second weekends, which would mean Nebraska would have to do something they've never done before, and that is win an NCAA tournament game. They need to win a Big Ten game tomorrow night. Hope you all show up. Hope maybe we can get more than 5,000 in there because it is not a Creighton game. Did they do that as a poll question on USC?
No. I think he was just getting fired up, and that came out of his mouth. That's what I think it was. Because before that, they were talking about people talking crap to John, and John blocking people on Twitter. I think you got fired up in that.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, again,
it's not true. It's not true.
All of us that are play-by-play guys, we get emotionally tied with their team, and that sucked. It sucked for him yesterday or on Sunday because Creighton got beat like that. And, you know, that gets him fired up. Yeah. And he could probably hear Ken on the other end just going nuts. Bang-a-rang-a-rang-a-rang! My boy, Sammy!
I love he calls him Sammy, my boy.
So, you know, I mean, I get that. And you're bummed because I have been there. There've been a lot of ass whoopings with Omaha. But, you know, like, I know people get on. But
it's not true.
Don't be an idiot.
Yeah, it's not true.
Okay.
It's not true. If you've been following Nebraska basketball for the last 2 years, a ton of people go to the games and cheer for them. And like PBA, you've had Big Ten coaches say, hey, it's a monster to play in there. It's hard to play in there. So, yeah.
He was just fired up?
He got fired up. I'm not, I don't, you know.
Do we need to troll him this morning?
I think we're doing plenty.
Is his buddy Jack? Did he even have Jack on?
No, Jack got him. Jack rubs it in on him.
Was he on with him yesterday?
I don't think he was, but he was on with him Friday.
But we've had a post since then.
I don't know if last year Jack poured champagne on himself in front of John.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
That was funny.
All right. Well, I got told not to refer to this radio station like I was yesterday. So I will not refer to it. I will refer to it as 1620 The Zone. We're back with more after this. All right, Brian Christopherson is going to join us here in a little bit, and we can join you and your $15,000 that you're going to win in the Playoff or Bust $15,000 sweepstake. Go to 1620thezone.com. 1620thezone.com. It's brought to you by Lanahan Nurseries. More details to come.
Where are they?
Kind of, I don't know. I'm looking here. But go to 1620thezone.com, and there will be more details up there. We're into bowl season. The NFL playoffs will be here in about a month.
Are you reading in between the lines? Like we'll be listening in between the lines today with Matt Rule?
I don't know. What do you think? He dropped some eggs.
I think I've always.
You think he'll drop more eggs today?
I think he will, and I think there will be. Here's my prediction: he will have like not like a negative quote, but he'll say something, that's not necessarily very glowing about the team that will grab headlines. He'll be brutally honest about something today that maybe we like, and I'm not, by the way, I'm purely guessing here, but I think that these transfer portal press conferences, they're always a little weird because you're coming off of like having a season that isn't overly successful, which has been the last 3 years. And so he knows his back is against the wall, and he knows that he's got to go ahead and have a good offseason and like address things in the portal. And I think oftentimes there are a lot of things that have been on his mind in terms of like reviewing the season and how the season has gone, where he's just kind of due in these pressers to just drop a nugget where you're like, oh, that's something that we can talk about. That could be a theme for the offseason. So I think that might happen today.
Yeah, he's good at dropping eggs. He's somebody who I've learned in 3 years doesn't do anything without intention.
Mm-hmm.
If you want the major eggs that were dropped, go back to the John Butler firing press conference, the signing day press conference, which was last Wednesday. And again, Rule talks this morning. Vince Cairns, the defensive coordinator who they had on campus, now is at Syracuse, who has forced Elijah Robinson out. That's an interesting development. I like him. I like him.
I know you do.
So if you go back to last Wednesday, the comment, play 11 is one, stop the run, win the money down. Weren't those mentioned by Rule? Do you know who has those published as his defensive philosophy in the 4-2-5? Vince Cairns.
He dropped one that you and I got right away, which was when he just started talking about the investment and everything like that, and like into the program. We're like, some people are like, oh, that's interesting. Like, he's putting pressure on the athletic department, and if you connected the dots right away, you're like, there's no way he says that when he's not in a contract negotiation. Like you say that type of stuff and you put that out there when you're trying to get that, and then a couple of weeks later, he does that all the time.
Yeah. The news yesterday about Elijah Robinson that he's leaving Syracuse to go to LSU for a hefty price tag. Sounds like there's $1 million that is out there.
Wow.
And then Football Scoop, which probably in the month of December is when I pay the most attention to Football Scoop. But they're connected. Sometimes they can go off the rails.
Sure.
But they are the first ones to say that, hold on here, Nebraska may be making a run at Elijah Robinson.
Oh, really? I did not see
Now,
that.
there's not a ton of noise out of Lincoln about this.
Okay.
But there's definitely the Rule connection. Rule gave him his first job. Rule tried to get him to Lincoln when he was at Texas A&M when Rule got this job. I guess Penn State is also involved where Robinson went to college.
Yeah.
Like Matt Campbell is interested. But LSU has a big checkbook for assistant coaches, and he would be the defensive line coach. Now, let's play in a world where Nebraska makes a change at the defensive line, and it is Elijah Robinson. Hello. You would have 3 defensive coordinators on your defensive staff, former or the guy that is the current one.
Williams, Ulrich, and now Robinson.
Yes, if that was the case. Again, been kind of quiet out of Lincoln on this, but Football Scoop and even Syracuse media have backed this up that there's been a slowdown of the process that Nebraska might be trying to poach and step in the way. It'd be a hell of a move by Rule. But what Rule is doing here is he gets a project every offseason. His project in the first year was to stop fumbling the football. Cured it.
They did.
Okay,
He
his
did.
project last offseason was to fix special teams. What did he do?
Cured it.
His project this year is to fix the defense. What is he doing?
He's making some good. Well, he made a good move in the DC hire. He's taken a good first step.
How about he's just made a change
Okay.
with somebody that we don't know if they're going to turn out or not. And I think it's way too early to determine that factor based on his resume.
I
Just because you're not going to know until next October.
I know what you're saying because he hasn't been a P4 coordinator and he hasn't been a coordinator in the Big Ten. And obviously being a coordinator in the Big Ten was something that definitely tripped up John Butler. But I also look at the number of they went from 29 points per game at San Diego State to 13 points per game.
Yeah.
And
And there's been plenty of plenty of coordinators, offense and defense, have made the jump from Group of 5 to Power 4. Indiana has a guy, their defensive coordinator. So it's, this is kind of a make or break for the Rule era. That's why I keep saying the defensive coordinator hire is more important than who you decide who's going to stay at quarterback and what you're going to do at that position moving forward. And we're not going to know. I mean, he could either be one of those people that make the jump and they're like, oh man, this is a fast rising star. How long is he going to stay here?
Sure.
Or it can be, oh boy.
Well, I think when you're trying to project these things, Gary, like you brought up the fact that he has a ton of energy and he's really good at like using his personnel in order to put them in the best positions. Like if those are his principles, then he's a good coach. I couldn't tell you what John Butler's principles really were, other than I'm super smart and I might have exotic packages. And if a guy isn't
Protect our guys on the back end.
yeah,
We don't want over the top. We don't want to get beat over the top.
sure,
We'll keep everything in front.
But when things failed up front, right, it didn't necessarily become how do we find the solutions. It became, well, you're not this guy or you're not good enough or we need literally going in front of a media and being like, we need more players, right? We need better players, right? If Rob Orich is a guy where it's like, he's like, no, I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to make sure that we call things and do things that put the skill sets of our best players in the forefront. That's way similar to what Tony White did. And Tony White had way more success than John Butler did.
Let me play a little money here because Satterfield's got to come off the OC contract. So you go to a tight end contract. What is that? 400, 500,000?
Something like that. I think Wager was like a high school coach. So I don't think it
mean,
matters.
if you have to pay money on a staff, you could pay a position coach $1 million. It takes, if you like somebody that much, to keep them away from somewhere else because you think they'll benefit you greatly as a recruiter and as a coacher. I mean, you have the money because the guy that currently is the defensive line coach, because of his lack of experience in this being the first year, he wasn't a guy that garnered a monster salary. So you could kind of move some things around if this came to fruition. I don't know. Just, when the Syracuse media started like, I hear Nebraska's trying to make a run, but Penn State is as well.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, all right.
Good for Elijah Robinson, man. Good for him to be in a bidding war to be a D line coach.
All right. Brian Christopherson of Husker 24/7 will join us next. All right, last hour, Gary and Matt, and Jimmy, 1620 The Zone. We welcome in Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7. Good morning, BC.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? And what do you believe to be true about a 9-0 start for Fred Hoiberg's basketball team?
I'm doing fine. Husker basketball is doing better than I am. I mean, you always feel good about yourself when you have a beat down of a in-state rival like they had Sunday. I saw you tweet out the picture of Nate Lenzer. Well-deserved shout out there, because that's 2 years in a row, that he's had a defensive plan that his crew has just really followed to a T and disrupted Creighton from the start. Now, CU missed some shots that they probably would normally say they should make. They were just off. I mean, hitting the side of the backboard on some stuff like 6 minutes into the game. But Nebraska was very much, we're using this phrase a lot with football, 11 as one, but 5 as one on the defensive end of the court. And that carried for all 40 minutes, as Fred said afterwards. So that's something that's portable. You got to take that with you Wednesday night. I said on this show, we were talking about what makes a good week. And I said, obviously 2-1 at least is what you're shooting for. But if they were to go 1-2, I actually said, and I don't know if it's the popular take, I'd want the Wisconsin one, honestly, to at least be 1-1 in Big Ten play. So this is big here. They've got to reset and almost pretend like Sunday didn't happen, even though everybody's feeling good about things for good reason.
Fred Hoiberg has a massive reputation about, being an incredibly creative offensive coach. And, I think when he was at Iowa State, they were Fred teams, right? And then he went to Chicago and you go, he didn't really have an opportunity to put his roster together there in the NBA. Do you think that this is the closest Nebraska has been to having a Fred Hoiberg type team, to having a roster closest to the rosters he might have had at Iowa State that gave him a ton of success?
Yeah, I think you're right on that. It's a team that's very mature too, and that is shown within the games where, like especially I think of the Kansas State game where K-State kept making pushes, and there were points in the second half of that game where any Husker team in the past almost, I think, might have given in. But this is a pretty mature group who responds to 6-0 runs by the other side in the manner you want to. And I think he just connects really well with those guys like Price and Rink. And Rink's been a great leader on this team, aside from just balling out, which is obvious to everyone. He's the guy who I think, gathers them in the circle when they do have a tough little stretch and kind of reignites them. And they didn't have that voice last year. They missed it a lot, even though Rink was on the bench rehabbing. It's different when you're out there in battle with your guys. And so I just think Rink's the perfect guy to play off of Fred's system, to your question. He's got more of the shooters that they want to stretch a defense out. And what surprised me so far, guys, though, is the defense. They've played at a higher level on that end of the court than I was necessarily expecting going in. And then I think guys have sort of maxed like what your vision of hope would be for them. Like Sam Hoiberg's playing the best ball of his life. Frager, you'd say as a redshirt freshman, like if you'd said before the season, what's the best version of him look like? I think, we're getting a guy who is confident already, even though it's his first season of college basketball, and had a big and one take when CU tried to make a minor little run on Sunday. All that stuff sort of coming together. So now you got to pretend again, like everybody's patting you on the back. Don't pay any attention to it. Don't take the rat poison, as Nick Saban would say.
Yeah, and play well tomorrow night, and ideally win a basketball game, because that'll be the first tough team you've played, followed by another one on Saturday, because now you go into the Big Ten. Brian Christopherson of Husker 24/7 is joining us. All right, I might be coming off the top rope or from left field on this one, but I'm looking at Jeep Wade being hired from Georgia Tech, and I'm looking at Georgia Tech's offense, which surprisingly, they're super balanced in terms of running and passing, and they throw it on average the same amount as Nebraska did this past year. But their OC with Haynes King who they love the RPOs, they love the screens, they got a little diverse passing game to stretch defenses, but they play with a lot of tempo. And they find explosive plays, which is missing from Nebraska's offense, but they're very balanced. So Nebraska goes out and hires a offensive line coach from that type of program. We say, man, it'd be nice if Nebraska had an offensive identity. Is this a little egg that's been dropped that maybe Nebraska in 2026 will have some of these elements, high tempo, RPOs, screen, those kind of things, trying to figure out his addition to the staff?
It's fair to ponder it at least, because you do wonder sometimes. I don't want to just let them off the hook for some things they could have done better, but I also thought there were points in this past season when the offense was a little bit hamstrung by the defense in the sense that they really wanted to make them low possession games, and they're working with the defense that wasn't getting a lot of takeaways for them, and so when you don't have sort of that complementary thing working together just at the highest of levels, you have to sort of slow it down and do all that stuff. So it's definitely a thought worth taking a few laps around that you're saying. And I never pretend like I know a ton about these assistant coaches until they're before us, and then you start to do your research. So it's not like I was looking at the all 22 on Georgia Tech or anything, or knew everything about Jeep Wade. But in his 3 years there, it's a heck of a solid resume. I mean, what he did with that rushing offense and the sacks allowed. I mean, I think if you go back to the point that was still the stain on the carpet for the season for Nebraska football, it was that sequence against Michigan State, Minnesota, when, it was like 20 plus sacks in 3 games, and Nebraska was up to, I think, 25 sacks allowed in 7 games into the season, like dead last in the FBS. And then you look at Jeep Wade's numbers, and they only allowed 9 sacks last year, and then you combine it with the 200 plus rushing yards. Obviously, it is an added benefit when you have like a Haynes King who can run it more. And so that's something you think about too. But on the surface, it's understandable why they looked at Jeep Wade's direction. And I know that he was getting attention from others too. It wasn't just Nebraska.
What worries you more? Who's going to be starting at quarterback for Nebraska next season, or who's going to be starting at running back?
Quarterback.
Okay.
I mean, it's still the straw that stirs the drink for everything. I mean, you've got to have the guy. I'm not saying like you can't. I know the conversations are between 2 guys here, and I'm not saying you can't find your way with either one of them. I remain intensely curious about TJ Lateef, and think he had kind of a tough challenge thrown in front of him with the hamstring injury against Iowa, and that set him back, and we probably didn't get to see his best work in that game. But I don't discount too in this conversation Dylan's extra year of experience and all that stuff, and so I'm like everyone else, sort of like I know all the speculations that's out there. I wonder if you can actually have both guys at the same time in this era of college football. That sometimes seems like a leap of the imagination. And so, every day you're kind of waiting for when the next step in this story may come. But to me, it's still the biggest question, like who's going to be that guy? And then what type of steps can he take? Because whoever it is, and I like this about Matt Rule's press conference last week. If it's Raiola again, and wherever he is in year 3 of his college career, he's got to make a jump, and it's got to be on him. And he likes those sort of challenges, but it is a big one. Like there's some stuff he did a lot better in his second year, but we all know there are things where that game can travel or needs to travel for a program to be elite with him. And so either guy, I think is going to have an off season where they continue to make big steps throughout spring, summer, and into fall, where they're just ready to rock and roll, and they have this team in their pocket as a leader too.
Hey, so today when Rule talks, maybe we'll get the official email that these two guys have been hired so that Rule can talk about them. But let's have a discussion about Phil Snow. So we know Phil Snow will coordinate the defense for the bowl game, and we know what challenge they're up against. I mean, Utah has 37 rushing touchdowns. They have a mobile quarterback. Dampier and Ficklin could be two guys that play in that game. What do you think, like, you're adding a defensive coordinator. That's the first time he's coordinated defensive power 4. You still have a young defensive line coach. That could maybe change where you get a more experienced defensive line coach. But you got a couple of guys that have been coordinators that are going to be on that defense. Moving forward, Phil Snow's role will look like what? And do we know enough about what he actually does?
I don't think we know everything he does. No. I mean, I think his role, as long as he's here at Nebraska, is going to be like the Yoda over there, as Rule said, with those other coaches. Like you're kind of trying to help them out through some different parts that come in. I know there's sometimes speculation about whether that's good or bad, and some people always like to ponder, there are too many cooks in the kitchen. I've never been certain that's a thing, that's been worth a topic or not. But I think in this case, especially with a coordinator who's got all the juice and energy in Rob Orich, and everybody's sort of excited about what he did at San Diego State this last year. But he obviously, the one thing people are going to talk about is, but can you do it at a Power 4? Like, what about when you get to go against these sort of big boys? What does that look like? And I don't know. To me, it's a good thing to have Phil Snow in those offices as a coach goes through that as a sounding board. And I don't always, I guess it's maybe I'm naive and I just take the optimistic thing on things. I don't always look at it like it's trouble because you've got more people or you've got an extra voice like that. I think it can be, if channeled right, can be very effective for you, especially in the scenario Nebraska has right now. With a younger coordinator, albeit an up-and-comer that obviously, Matt Rule's staking a lot on, and I'm not going to overhype him, but, if you look at what Orich did last year, he got elevated last December, and that was a program that had just finished 3-9 that first year, and they had a lot of defensive questions at San Diego State, and for him to turn them into top 5, top 10 in a lot of these stats, both pass and run defense, and I will say highlight red zone defense. There's a lot of boxes checked specifically that Nebraska has to improve on that he did very well with.
I caught a clip of House Rules on I'm not a TikTok guy, Brian. I'm a YouTube clips, a YouTube Shorts guy. So I caught a clip.
So am I.
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome. Get caught on there all the time. So I get, a House Rules, Matt Rules podcast clip pops up on my YouTube Shorts, and it's him talking to Prince Amukamara. And he goes, "Hey, Prince, that 2010s defense, that was a legendary defense. What was it about that defense?" And he brought up Ndamukong Suh. And it got me thinking, Brian, does Nebraska's defense right now have an alpha? And if they don't, can you acquire an alpha, like an alpha type guy in the portal? Or does he have to be a homegrown high school guy?
No, you can get one in the portal. I think that has changed that dynamic. You can find guys because it used to be a deal, like even 5 years ago, I think, when a new player would walk into a program and sometimes you felt like he had to earn his stripes for like at least a year or so before it's like, okay, you're one of us now. I think people, the guys playing it, are so used to guys coming and going now, where it is more like the pros, where basically once you get through mat drills together, if that person was with you and showed that type of leadership and is really that type of player when you get to the season, he can totally be that guy. I think it's a good question to ask, but that is an interesting category of college football that I think has shifted dramatically even in the last few years, where rookies to a program, if they've got the right stuff in the winter, they can be viewed as a leader or voted a team captain by, July or August. So that is possible. And frankly, that's what Nebraska is going to have to find. They're going to have to find a couple of those alpha dogs, because to the beginning of your question, I don't know who that is right now.
Hey, sticking with recruiting, and this is going to involve the portal, and we're talking running backs. What's what's your current feelings on how Nebraska recruits running backs out of high school? I know Amir Brown, who's a 4-star, is in 27, but it's been a while, kind of a revolving door of not guys getting on the field that are high school running backs. What can Nebraska do different in their evaluation development of high school running backs instead of relying on the portal?
Yeah, that's a tough one to answer. I'm not as down on it. Like Emmett, some people would say just covered up things, but I don't know that for sure. Like I'm really still pretty interested in like, okay, what does Makai Nelson now or Mosey do with this opportunity before them? Going into this bowl game. It's honestly, it's one of the more interesting storylines around this game. And so they're obviously guys, and Mosey, of course, was recruited more as a receiver initially. But, I mean, we can't write their story yet, so we'll see what they do. Obviously, Quentin Ives has been one where you kind of thought this was a now or never year, and so probably people are close to turning the page on that. So there's misses, and in the news out there, Jamarian himself tweeted it that he's planning on entering the portal. So those do stick out, but you just need one or two of those high school guys to hit. Emmett ended up hitting, and hopefully between Mosey and Nelson, one of those guys hit, and then hopefully between
Rule
Jamal Rule, Amir Brown, one of them hit. So I guess my answer is it's incomplete right now. I feel like it's like let's hand the paper back to the person and see what they come up with over the next year or two. And I know that seems like a fence-sitting answer, but I don't know how to take a strong position on it yet because I'm kind of waiting to see what those other guys do still.
Brian, what happened to the tight ends this year? I feel like they came in and first 5 weeks of the year, they were, really big, a lot of 12 personnel used in the run game. They were safety valves. Luke Lindenmeyer was hit over in the middle, and then it kind of just went away. What was that just, they weren't good enough or they stopped using them? What was your evaluation of that?
One of them got hurt.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
I think one of them got hurt, and Nebraska's season changed a lot when Bonner went down.
I think that's a very good point. The team was crushed first off when Bonner suffered that injury. It was the drive it was the touchdown, the key drive in the fourth quarter against Cincinnati that made it 20-10. Yeah. Very good moment for Nebraska in that game. The play before, though, was huge for the season, and it kind of got blanketed over because they won the game and all that stuff. But you could tell by the reaction in the post game that guys close to him were stung by that, and they knew how much of a jack of all trades he was for this squad. So that was a big deal. As to the question, I think they miss Lindenmeyer sometimes. I think there's more opportunities for that kid. I really think he's a good player and one of the better players on this roster. And they've got to find more ways to utilize him because, I mean, that game, go back to the opener. That was a game where you saw right off the bat, like Lindenmeyer can be that kind of guy you thought maybe where he is getting those 60 to 65 yards per game, and there just weren't probably enough of them. And so this is a big bowl month and off season for those guys too, though. I think Carter Nelson was probably still dinged up, and what happens with him? Where can he go with his game? He needs to take that step now. I like the recruit they just got, and I don't discount that Luke Sorensen with a full year here can be part of the equation next season. So he might have to be. So that's a big time recruit, probably the one people aren't talking enough about in that class, because I think he was one of their better gets.
Yeah, I agree. And because he happened early, people are like, okay, we're on to the next guy. That's a good point. Luke Sorensen was a good pickup, and also location.
Yeah.
BC, as always, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7. In terms of the portal, so Vermas and Parker are the first two publicly.
Yeah.
They've announced that they are going into the portal. Is Dylan the only guy off this roster that if he declared his intentions to put his name into the portal, across college football would be in the top 20 list?
Oh, great question. maybe Winery, because he still has the former 5-star tag on him, and he played pretty well in this year. But other than that, no. I don't think
Like, let's just play
Shavers-
this. So anybody
Yeah.
off this current roster that says, I'm out,
Yeah.
and we go, whoa, no, you're not. Dylan, only guy that would be in the top 20.
Yeah, probably. There like if Keona went in, I would be like, there are guys I'd be upset about. There would be guys that I'm like, oh, that's a bad loss. Like, but if I'm being honest with you, there's probably only like 8 of them. Like, there's really not. I don't think there's a ton where I'm like, oof, like you can't go and it's hard to replace that guy. Because even there's some guys that their names are familiar and I think had good plays this year, but if they were to leave, you'd be like, okay, you could probably go and find that again. You could go and
Mhm.
replace that guy again. You could probably find another wide receiver. You could maybe find another safety or something. But I don't, and I think that just goes. It's a good conversation to have because it tells you the strength and healthiness of the roster, right? Where it's like you only have one top 20 guy that would really hurt you and garner a ton of attention out the
And also
portal.
the,
That's not
the
great.
position also helps, but
Big time.
he's
Yeah.
also played
You-
2 years of college football.
You think if Pritchett went into the portal that he would be like? He showed a lot of potential at the end of the year, and he still has that 5-star tag. But it also would play into it be his
yeah.
third team in 3 years, and I think
Yeah.
that would probably scare some.
I think he
teams
would
away.
be because of his position.
That's another like the it's so tackles. Are
Would he just
crazy.
be making a blue blood trip to Alabama, went to Nebraska?
Goes Colorado? That would probably be like the stop. That would probably
Hey.
be the stop he would make.
I would wonder, what are you doing?
For chasing the bag.
You just don't want to. You don't want to
I-
surprise. Because when we're coming up on a year of when Emmett went into the portal
Yeah, and
then
when
came back out of the portal.
and Keanu went in the portal
Yeah.
and came back to the portal. I loved your question, by the way, of what does Phil Snow do?
That's just kind of-
and then Brian goes, he's Yoda, and I'm just thinking of like, Matt Rule. Okay, coach he is.
Like, in the beginning of the year, that 1890 RIP practice, like Phil Snow was very active,
Very.
but
But the
kind
only
of then we haven't really talked about him until now.
the only thing that has ever been said was, oh, he was working with freshman DBs.
Yeah,
That was it. That's all we were ever
there are a
told.
lot of them that kept him busy apparently. All right, Andy Candy going to join us before the hour is over on 1620 The Zone. All right, you want to go see a FCS quarterfinal game? Tarleton State will have dollar beers and dollar hot dogs for their game this weekend.
That's awesome. Is Phoenix still, or the Suns still doing that thing where they have super cheap concessions? Is that still going on? I remember they started that at the beginning of the year. I wonder if that's
seem to be a
continuing.
lot of teams that do that now.
I'm already thinking about my Taste of the Masters catering set because all of our, I would say that 60% of our cups are just Masters 2025 cups. I'm like, yeah, we're going to do it. And we're going to get the pimento cheese sandwiches and the barbecue again.
You gonna do it again?
I'd probably go with the, they give you the azalea, like the whiskey lemonade drink that you can have there. Is that what it's called? The azalea? You can get like a drink package when they send you all the things that you can make to make the mixed drinks. I think we're going to go in that direction this year. But I wouldn't mind a pimento. The egg salad that I got from that, some of the best egg salad I've ever had. It was so good. I was eating egg salad sandwiches for a week.
I got that package 2 years in a row, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wait until I'm actually on the grounds to have the real thing. Villanova is at Tarleton State. So if you want to go get dollar beer, dollar hot dogs in Texas, you can go see Tarleton State and Villanova. Villanova plays Michigan tonight.
Yeah, they're a 17.5-point underdog tonight.
Yeah, Big East needs to find some wins here
They
before conference play begins.
Well,
Only three teams in the top 50 this morning in the net ranking.
Big East teams that aren't named UConn, because UConn they're carrying their weight. They're 5 in the country. They're doing pretty well.
So you're only going to get 2 teams in the tournament?
No,
that's not good.
No, it's not. I'm saying that you need to teams in the non-con that aren't named UConn have to figure it out. I mean, pretty sure that Nebraska has a higher net ranking right now than St. John's.
There is keep this in mind. Here, hold on. Stu Manji has helped you out here. You asked the question earlier. When was the last time Nebraska men's baseball, basketball, or football was ranked in the AP poll for longer than 3 weeks? It's been 9 years. Last 9 weeks of the 2016 season. People forget that season. I don't. They went to a bowl game. Nick Gates got turned into a turnstile. Football has been ranked in 3 seasons since then. Oh, this is where it gets depressing.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Baseball last ranked for 3 consecutive weeks, 2008.
Jeez.
They've been ranked in 6 seasons since. Basketball last ranked 3 consecutive weeks, 1992. They've been ranked in 3 seasons since.
That is
Well,
brutal.
yesterday was the first day they've been ranked in 7 years.
That is brutal.
Yeah. None of these teams were ranked for any sport were ever ranked for more than 2 consecutive regular season weeks. Now do volleyball. Finish on a positive.
Now do track
note.
and field. Yeah, now do softball.
So one of the nuggets that came out yesterday, and I'm sure that Rule will be asked about it today because he got to know the Pede family really well. Not like he's going to stop knowing the Pede family, but shout out Tom and Sean. 1890 has wound down. They are like a lot of schools. They're going to go in-house, so the NIL will move in-house. So after 4.5 years, the name, image, likeness outside of the athletic department is coming to an end.
What was your favorite moment of the 1890 era?
Well, I think the messaging and past opinions of people hurt Nebraska's NIL at the beginning. So remember, it was not 1890 to begin.
No, it was
ABM.
And
because there were Scott Frost lieutenants that were involved, there was already a negative opinion towards it.
Yeah.
And I think around here, the messaging to understand how name, image, likeness worked didn't get off to a great start. And it also didn't get support internally. Trev fought the ABM 1890 version for the longest time. And I think that really, really hurt. And then Troy Dannon comes along and he embraces it. And the football coach embraces it. And so 1890, who has some really good people that worked with 1890 and the Pede family, I wonder if they thought they got the return on investment because they basically bankrolled it. I mean, they did bankroll it. I mean, you're talking at least $10 million every year.
That's
just to Nebraska athletics. Okay. So they were paying to keep Nebraska athletics rolling. And I wonder if they thought they got their return on investment. Maybe they just go, Sharpie, it's $10 million. You know who we are? I'm like, yeah, I'd like to come play at your golf course.
I- I'd like to sign
Yeah.
an NIL deal with you.
So it took until really Dannon coming on board to embrace 1890, like to have some support from the power chair, because it always seemed like it was a separate arm and, you know what are they doing?
Mhm.
He came along, he embraced it. I think that's when it took off and people are like, okay, we understand the importance of name, image, likeness around here.
Yeah.
Even though I'm an old school person and we don't pay players, I get it. Nebraska didn't seem to have a lot of victories, of success stories with, hey, we got this particular person because of NIL. But it's a weird 4.5 years because I don't think everybody understood it or
No.
everybody embraced it. Because one thing Dannon did, and remember, he started wearing logos. Okay, he started wearing
Yes.
gear. Rule started wearing gear. Rule talked openly about the PEDs. Is they put the logo on the field, the 1890
Yeah.
logo. It disappeared after one game because people lost their mind, and people that are in powerful positions at the university and elsewhere said, "What are you doing that for?" And so that thing disappeared.
That's crazy.
So it's in 4.5 years, I think Nebraska made strides.
Mm-hmm.
They're stronger for it. But the 3 years that it was 1890, it wasn't until Dannon came along that you went, okay, I see what they're doing. I get it. I'm going to get involved. And now it goes in-house. And, let's see what the resources are like.
I was gonna say, when I asked you what your favorite part of the 1890 era was, like, I was gonna say, like, the hats were a big deal to me. I thought the hats were cool.
The hats?
No, but I'm being real.
Not securing an athlete?
Well, no, but like I'm talking from the perspective of, like, first off, I thought they were cool hats, but secondly, I was going to bring up, like, Troy Dannon wearing the quarter zips and Troy Dannon wearing the hats and, like, people, like, representing the gear. I think that was a big moment for people to look at, like, hey, here's the athletic director and here are prominent people within the athletic department representing this brand, representing this collective. Like, I think it made people realize, hey, if they're doing that and they're promoting it, obviously this is important to them and this is something that needs to change or that you need to invest in. Now, what you bring up about people getting mad about, the 1890 logo being on the field and everything like that, immediately I think of, like, this is the difference between having a collective and having financial support that has to be a team effort compared to having a Cody Campbell or having a chicken finger guy or having Crumble Cookie or having Larry Ellison or having David Booth, having these massive owners, right? These massive donors. Because if people don't, like, if it's just one guy giving you all the money and giving you all the cash and here's the support, like, what are you going to do? Tell him not to do it? Like, no, he's going to give you everything you need. And then you go out there and then you go and you win. You're like, all right, we're none the wiser for it. Where if you don't have that, there's got to be a lot of cooks in the kitchen with a lot of different, views on it, with a lot of different opinions that you have to take into account. And I think that's where that rift begins, where a rift can happen. And so that's why it's so advantageous for some of these schools to just have these singular big donors. What are you going to do? Tell me not to donate? No, I'm going to donate. And then you're going to use that money and win.
Now it's going in-house. So RIP 1890.
Can we still buy that brew? Can we still get the beer?
No, they also lost the jerky war. People forget about that.
I do.
Remember we had a little jerky war?
I do forget about the jerky
Mhm.
war. I like the 1890 beer was decent.
Yeah, it was just a slow. I think when it first got off the ground, not as 1890, if you had people that were not connected to Frost that were running it, the response would have been a lot better because it became very personal.
Well, I think also too, like, just from a fan perspective, because I mean, I wasn't really tied into all of that stuff at the time when that took off, but, like, from a fan perspective, why would you give to Scott Frost at that point? Like, the team is losing, you're losing hope. He's been given opportunity after opportunity.
I don't think the messaging was good. I
Yeah.
mean, until 1890 took it over, and it was much better. It was more organized.
time.
It was, and some of the people that were with ABM also made it over to 1890. But it was more. There were people that you trusted that were involved, and they told you how it worked.
Yeah.
And I just think in this state, it was a little bit slow to understand the NIL because we thought, hey, okay, Austin Allen's going to have a Runza app. That's his NIL. Instead of, no, we need 100K to keep or secure somebody else.
Yes.
All right. Andy Kennedy is going to join us. here in a little bit. We'll pick AK's brain as things get busy and when he will be leaving for Vegas next week.
How many days do you think he stays in Vegas? He was there for
Uh,
7 the last time.
Yeah. Was he there for 7 or was Lauren?
Lauren was, I don't know. I'm pretty sure they both were. Lauren was for sure there for 7. She
Yeah.
told me all about it.
Yeah, I think it'll be not a quick in and out. You don't go quick in and out to, well, you go to the In and Out that's right there by Interstate 15, across the street from the Roomba. I don't know, maybe like 4 days. You want to be out there for the arrival? You got to get video of the arrival.
I think they'll probably be for 5. I would guess 5. Over under is 4.5. Let's turn it into that because I can't help but make
for
a
that
line.
expense count at KTV, they need Nebraska volleyball to appear on ABC a couple of Sundays in a row.
Depends on what. Are you staying at the New York, or the Mandalay Bay? It depends on what on who's playing on Sunday.
All right, we're going to chat with AK coming up next on 1620 The Zone. All right, in a volleyball state, a volleyball TV station, Matt Satilli is going to Lexington to cover Creighton and Arizona State coming up on Thursday afternoon. The rest get the short trip to Lincoln, and ABC is carrying volleyball. The sales staff at KATV is rooting openly for Nebraska or Creighton as we welcome in Andy Kennedy, who happens to be the sports director at that aforementioned station. Good morning.
Good morning, boys. Thanks for the midnight oil. Beds are burning.
I got
Lead
you.
me in. This is great news. Volleyball week. Volleyball, it's really fortnight as to the next couple of weeks because we've got volleyball wall to wall. Tilly's on his way. He's texting me from Chicago on his layover to Louisville.
Terrible
and he's
layover.
gonna drive to Lexington. Yes, it's going to be fantastic. He's fired up for another trip. He was just in Lexington for the NCAA basketball tournament, so he knows that city well. And then here's the big thing, boys. Let me just get it out and open and shamelessly plug our coverage. So I just saw that Courtney Lyle and Holly McPeak are going to be in Nebraska in Lincoln to call the match on Friday. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Oh, by the way, that's the number one team. And then the regional finals, one of them's on ABC on Sunday, and that starts at 2:00 on, I'm guessing it's going to be ABC, but haven't gotten the official word yet, but I would think that they'd want their number one team on ABC. And should that be Nebraska's match, KETV will have post-game live coverage after ABC National goes off the air. How about that?
All right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. When you leaving for Vegas?
Oh my God. You ready for this, boys?
Mhm.
Oh no, it's over. We set a line. We set a line of how many
What?
days you would be in Vegas.
Who had the 26?
I said you'd be there for the
26.
team arrival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
26, baby.
So,
26. Here's the thing, boys. We learned a valuable lesson last year with Pinstripe Bowl and we have another special. Oh, by the way, happy holidays to the sports department. We have a pregame show for the Las Vegas Bowl. That's going to air from 1 to 2 o'clock on New Year's Eve day. That leads into the Citrus Bowl on ABC, though you please watch our special before you flip over to ESPN. So we learned a valuable lesson last year with Pinstripe Bowl that having a special and you want stuff on site, you've got to get there early because they shut things down a couple days before the game, So if you want to get to practice, you want to get to, events with the fellas, you gotta go early. So, that's the bad news, but good news because Las Vegas for a week isn't so bad over the holidays.
Are you leaving the 1st or around the 31st?
Yeah. In fact, we're leaving the 1st. How about this? You want an inside story?
Yeah,
This is
give
a
it.
good one. So we got this one yesterday. So, we've got a lady, awesome employee at our station, Barbano, who's actually retiring this week as my dog is barking. Oh my God, Lucy, there's an Amazon driver outside. Yeah. Jeez. So yeah, so Barbano is, bless her heart, she makes all the travel arrangements, what have you. And so I give her a list on what kind of flights we want that would work out best for, because it's all about me. It works out best for me. So I'm like, well, we got to come back to first. There are 3 playoff games that day. I'd really like to watch the Rose Bowl either at home, and I don't want to get up too early because I don't want to have that early flight. So we're going to fly later on that day, right?
Okay.
So she comes back. We're sending 4. We're sending me, Lauren, Ben Smith, our photographer, and Bill Shammer, right?
Okay.
So because we have this special. And so she goes, oh, hey, Andy, yesterday, Barb says, Andy, yeah, hey, great news. I got you and Lauren on that flight you wanted that leaves at like 6 o'clock Pacific so you can, watch the Rose Bowl. And then she's like, bad news. And that's a direct flight. Bad news. You two got the last 2 seats. So Bill and Ben have to fly through Phoenix, have a 2-hour layover, and they leave at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So luckily there's TV on the, luckily there's TV on the Southwest flight.
All right. Okay. So this past week has been pretty newsy post the Iowa game. Firing of offensive line coach, defensive coordinator, hiring of an offensive line coach, hiring of a defensive coordinator. Which one do you get most interested in of those 4 things that happened in the past week?
Ooh, that's well. I'm guessing for me, the defensive coordinator thing was big for me because that position is so darn important, and to get the guy that they got was pretty intriguing. And it was interesting, not just that the moves were made, but you can kind of read in between the lines and why the moves were made. Especially a week ago when Matt Rule says, don't say that the guys can't play or the guys can't do this or what have you. I mean, that's obviously the red flag. So I think that one probably the biggest transition for me. Now, the Raiola move, in my opinion, was made because they got a guy in place right then. If they didn't get that Deep Wade fella, I'm not sure that move was made. You know what I mean? Because it was done so quickly. You had B already set before you did A. So, but the layered nuance with that move may have ramifications moving forward. I don't know. I mean, Dylan's a grown man. He's making more money than all three of us combined. So, like, he's his own guy. He can make his own decisions. I don't know if one leads to the other. I don't know if I'm going to take that leap. I think Dylan makes his own decisions, and we'll see what happens there. And I think an offensive, and this is no knock to offensive line coaches because they're very, very, very important. But a defensive coordinator, in my opinion, is a little higher on the pecking order in terms of replacing and direction of the program. They can really impact that.
Hey, big result on Sunday. Nebraska basketball defeated Creighton 71-50. Granted, Andy, if you've been following both these teams, closely watching both their games, you could see that Nebraska was trending up and Creighton was, has had a tough start, obviously. But 4.5-point favorites heading into that one for the Huskers. They end up winning by 21. Did you see that coming? I mean, were you shocked by that result?
I was, because Nebraska hadn't put together a full 40 minutes, in my opinion, and they did on Sunday. They played lights out. I mean, they didn't trail in the game, and I think that's the second straight year that they haven't trailed against Creighton.
Yes.
So that's just an amazing stat. Like, they're hitting their three balls, the crowd's going bananas, and Creighton can't, hit water out of a boat. I mean, that first half for Creighton was about as bad as you could write up. Now, this is not these are not excuses. These are just facts. Creighton's still finding their way without one of their best players in Jack Like. And then to have a guy that you just pulled his red shirt off go down with, I'm guessing a temporary injury. I think he's on the mend, and Hudson Greer. I think you take those two guys out, that's a totally different team. Plus, oh, by the way, you got all these different pieces trying to get together. So they're obviously going to be a better team, in my opinion, in a month and a half than they are today. That being said, you got to give the flowers to Nebraska because they are playing at a very high level now, and it will be interesting to see if they can carry this over into Big Ten play because with Rink Mass doing Rink Mass things, and then, Sam Hoiberg diving all over the place and guys knocking down triples, that's an interesting team. I don't normally peek ahead, but I looked ahead and I was like, hey, what are the sites for the NCAA tournament first rounds? Is there anything I want to go to? But yeah, no, this is a team that I think is all, this is a team that could be that team finally. And I know everybody knows what we're talking about and that get that first. So, but man, they are playing well. They're hitting their shots, and when they're hitting their shots, they're going to be tough for anybody to beat.
Yeah, tomorrow night's a major game. That's
big test.
That's playing Wisconsin. Who a friend of mine earlier texted me and he said college football is up or college basketball is upside down this year. San Diego State can't stop anybody. Wisconsin scores and Creighton can't shoot. Like it's college basketball is upside down.
And Kentucky's bad.
Yeah.
Kentucky's terrible.
Exactly. Yeah, I think tomorrow's going to be a big and I think tomorrow will really tell you where, one of those big measuring stick games. I know some people have criticized Nebraska with their non-con schedule. You know what? fellas, this is what you do in the non-con. You put some cupcakes around some Power 4 opponents. I don't have any problem with the way they scheduled their exhibition or their preseason games or their non-conference games. I think they're fine, and I do think that they're gonna find out what they're made of in these next 2 games: home against Wisconsin and then at Illinois, which is going to be a tough task. Illinois at in Champaign, and they've got things rolling too. So, yeah, I think we'll have a better gauge on these guys after this next week in terms of how excited really should we be. But right now, it's fun. They're good, and they come into every game saying, yeah, they can win this game, and that's a feeling that Nebraska basketball fans haven't had in a long time.
Yeah, we'll see if Fred says to his team privately, "We are the better team." If he drops a "We are the effing better team." All right. Enjoy the week. It sounds like you're going to be busy putting a lot of stuff in the can, getting ready for multiple shows. But I hope the salespeople at KTV are really, really happy, and they are rooting openly for Nebraska to beat KU late Friday night.
Yeah, I'm hoping for at least some kind of kickback, but I won't hold my breath, if you know what I mean.
Aren't we all?
Hey, are you solo out to Vegas, or do we take the family?
Oh, solo. I learned long ago. You can't double dip. You just have so much stuff going on, especially when we're at it. How am I playing this off? Is this good? Am I playing this off good? Yeah, you can't bring your family out. You're just too busy with work and all that stuff. They know that.
Hey.
Plus, my wife is like, yeah, you just go do your work thing. I'm like, okay, you insist.
Oh, well, that's sweet. But at least you'll be home for Christmas Eve to continue the Kendi tradition of cheeseburgers from McDonald's.
And I will make sure to tweet that picture out. It's a tradition like no other.
I favored it every year.
Absolutely.
Hey,
thanks, boys.
Be good. That's Andy Kendi from KTV. Yeah, every their Christmas Eve tradition in their household that's been going on for a long time is they go to McDonald's and get cheeseburgers.
I hope
him and the girls. He's got him and his lovely wife, and then they got 3 daughters.
I hope they finish up dinner quick enough because it feels like those places are closing earlier and earlier nowadays.
Yeah. You know what? I think, did I go to a McDonald's I went to Denny's and McDonald's on Christmas Eve last year.
That's awesome. I went to a Taco Bell at 11 o'clock and the workers came out and told me, we're closed. We're not making tacos anymore. I'm like, all right. I went home hungry.
All right. Crossovers coming up next. Matt Rule speaks this morning. We react.